The RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
The tardiness, the sloppiness. My God, you've been coming into work hungover. But the truth is, you're nobody's first choice for this job. We're giving you one last chance.
Sam Ballard Jr.
You think I might screw up?
Scott Riggleman.
That's Scott! He's a dick!
Neil Rutt III.
Aren't you legendarily racist?
Nick Rendo.
It needs to be massive and long and wide.
Eric Graham.
I'm too shy to wear a crop top.
And Josh Matthews.
What the hell kind of people do something like this?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another live edition of the RPM Podcast, coming to you from River Rock and Marina Bar in Brick, New Jersey, with me being the only exception, as I just returned from a family vacation and am down in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Eric Brennan. I spent the last 3 years with you guys getting prepared for the Daytona 500, and as I told my fellow partners at the RPM Podcast, I was not going to miss this one either, and we are set to prepare you for what you are about to see in approximately 2 hours' time. With that, who we are, as I said, my name's Eric Brennan. I was a former announcer at Wall Stadium Speedway, now doing some work down south. We have us producer Josh Matthews, who is a local racer himself. Josh, how you doing?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back. Fresh off Disney. I don't have my Mickey ears on, but I still got the Majek spirit, and hopefully it parlays into what we're about to see a little bit later on today. Also back after being on a brief hiatus with the RPM Podcast crew, an official at Wall Stadium Speedway, our buddy Eric Graham. Eric, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Eric? Seems like I only see you around the country now.
I know. Well, we got a few more weeks before you're back down this way for GoPro, so I'm looking forward to that and all the margaritas that come with it. We also have fellow driver Scott Riggleman. Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Just getting the cars ready and getting ready to go for the season when it starts up here in April.
Scott, one half of the Edge of Divorce Motorsports race team that competes in the factory stocks at Wall Stadium Speedway. Now, Scott's brother Tim is an accomplished motorsports spotter who has his racing duties full for 2019. Tim is with us as well. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Thanks.
I guess you didn't hear him? Okay, that's why.
No, not at all. But Tim is here. Also, we have his daughter Bailey, who is a Sunday Series racer, who was just honored yesterday at the Sunday Series Awards banquet. So I want to say hello to Bailey as well. Hello. All right, gentlemen, stage is set. We are ready to go. A lot has gone into the lead-up of the 61st running of the Daytona 500, and we are about 2 hours away from seeing how it all pans out. But the first thing that we want to do is remind everybody that there is a plethora of drink and food specials available at the River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar for you all to be able to enjoy throughout the afternoon. There are race cars outside. I saw a picture of Chris Garbach's dirt car out there, and if you want to have a good time, I guarantee you want to hang out with Chris and his company as they get into the race pools that they will be giving out in just a short while. There's plenty of giveaways that will be available. Most of that will be handled by those who are on site with you, but we prepare to get you set for the actual running of the race. With that, gentlemen, a lot of talk about what type of race we're going to see today. We saw in the duels, things were pretty tame. In the clash, that single file thing was taking place. First of all, overall, and I'll start with you, Scott Riggleman, what are you expecting to see today? Are we expecting to see the historic and prestigious running of the Daytona 500 despite the racing product, or are people a little bit worried about how the race is going to be today?
I think it's going to be single file. I think a lot of people are going to use their heads and wait until the end. But then again, who knows? Jimmy Johnson's out there. I'm sure he'll cause a few cautions for us and make it exciting.
Now, if you didn't see the clash that took place last week, as weather was moving in, Jimmy Johnson was running second, tried to make a pass on Paul Menard. They ended up making contact, took out more than half the field. When the race ended, once the wet weather hit, Johnson was credited with the win. He followed it up by spinning Kyle Busch on Thursday. So, yes, there is not a pretty track record for the driver of that 48 leading into this race in just a couple hours. Eric Graham, you've been very critical of a lot of the product that we've seen on the stock car side of the racing world. But for good reason, and NASCAR has addressed a lot of that, but none of those changes are going to come into effect until next week. We're running the same package that we had at the restrictor plate races in 2018. What do you expect to see today?
Sorry, Josh is putting a ring on my finger. That's getting a little awkward. I know it's been a while, Josh, but come on. I think Scott nailed it. And it's weird. What's the state of NASCAR when Jimmy Johnson's the most exciting thing going on? Like he used to be known as the most vanilla thing in NASCAR, and now it's like everyone's talking about Jimmy Johnson and who he's gonna wreck and what's going on. It's weird. It's bizarre.
That comes in spurts too. I mean, it was Ricky Stenhouse for a while. For a while, it was Kyle Busch, and it's Jimmy Johnson's turn this year. And so far, he's starting out where he's causing some wrecks and some cautions. So all eyes are on him. But I think he'll have a solid 500. I mean, the guy's just too good to screw up 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I think we're going to see 475 miles of a parade, and then some stuff will happen at the end. It's going to be your normal NBA style race.
Well, we would look at speed weeks as a whole. As we mentioned, the Clash relatively tame to the very end. The duels relatively tame to the last lap. The truck race was a mess, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Yesterday's Xfinity race, very tame. I think the odds of seeing what Eric and Scott and Josh have already kind of touched on as a bit of a single file until we get to the stage breaks, which, Eric, you've been a big fan of the stage racing format as it's been implemented over the last 2 years. And I think this is a key reason why. If it wasn't for those stage breaks or those stage points, which turned out to be really important over the last year, I don't think we would see anything take place in those mid portions of the race. And now it's turned into a must-watch moment in a race where many may have the opportunity to turn away and socialize with a friend during those moments and not really give their undivided attention to the single-file parade that we've seen. Thank God for stage racing, right?
Yeah, I think it's funny how people go, oh, the racing was just getting good, and then the stage ends it. Well, the race was just getting good because of the stage. So people are starting to finally come around on that. I think the chase was a good idea, too. They need to get younger viewers. They need to make things more in the moment now. You can't have a championship that ends 4 months or 4 races before the end of the season.
I agree. I will say that I think the stage racing has panned out, and I think a lot of people are getting used to it. There was actually a great meme I saw yesterday. It said it was a picture side by side of Daytona 500 from, I don't know, let's say 20 years ago, and one from within the past year, and it said, back in my day, oh wait.
I really think
because they were both single file.
That was actually like 35 years ago. I saw that.
I apologize.
I really think that was a caution lap because back then, you'd have 4 cars on the lead lap at a Daytona 500.
Yeah. Well, it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just things were always better back in the day because you felt better as a person. It doesn't necessarily mean it was better.
It's called juvenoia. It is.
Yeah, and that's something that we've touched on a lot. And now, as we mentioned, as we look ahead in 2019, there is a lot of things in which NASCAR is looking to work on or change or implement to try to make the racing a little bit better. And Daytona is not going to be one of those races. Now, the rest of the plate races will see some changes. However, for the 500, they're sticking with the rules they had in place 1 year ago. So let's talk about what we did see 1 year ago. In the 500, a lot of multi-car accidents. A lot of teams getting tore up, a lot of drivers not running at the finish, similar to what we had in the truck race, and it was Austin Dillon who essentially moved Eric Almirola into the wall in the final lap to grab himself a 500 win. As we are kind of talking about the racing product that we may or may not see, do you guys think that it's going to get messy at the end, just like it did with the Clash last week?
Yes.
Are we going to see a clean final lap, or is there going to be a lot of sheet metal torn up on the white flag?
No, it always gets messy at Daytona with the last 5 laps to go, and I think we're going to see that again. Someone's going to push too hard, or someone's going to try to make a block, and the guy behind him is not going to give him that, and it's going to cause a wreck like always.
Now, we touched briefly on Jimmy Johnson. Hendrick Motorsports was in a severe lull last season. In fact, none of their drivers really showed much of the promise and results that we've seen them have over the last 20 years or so. How about William Byron on the pole? His first career pole ever, driving the Hendrick Motorsports number 24. His teammate Alex Bowman, who was last year's pole sitter, will start alongside. We also have Harvick and Logano starting in row number 2 after winning the Thursday qualifiers. And a couple of notables here. New Jersey driver Ryan Truex missed the show after not running up to par in the duels, along with Joey Gaze. And for those of you who may not be accustomed to why we should care about the sport of auto racing, specifically down there in New Jersey at River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar, here are some notables based on some local connections. New Jersey's own Martin Truex Jr. is going to start 11th. Bubba Wallace, who has a New York spotter, and Freddie Kraft helping him out, will be rolling off 13th. Runner-up last year, Ryan Blaney, his right front tire changer. Ryan Flores, accomplished racer, indoor champion, Wall Stadium winner. He's one of the pit crew members on that number 12 car. Blaney's going to roll off in 14th. And Ryan Preece, even though he's a New England native, He does have a lot of success at Wall Stadium Speedway. In fact, won Turkey Derby there a few years ago. Won a bunch of modified races this past week down at New Smyrna. He will be in his rookie campaign from the 21st starting position. So there's a lot of guys we're going to be keeping our eye on for local flair purposes alone, and they're people that you could be cheering for down there at River Rock as we get set to go. Guys, anybody stand out to you as we look at the starting lineup and where some people are rolling off, or maybe people to watch based on how they've run throughout the week? Eric, I don't know how you've been able to keep tabs with what's gone on this past week, but is there anybody that you feel that we should be keeping our eye on?
I think the Penske cars. When I look pre-Daytona 500, I looked at to see who has the most drivable cars, and you really see the Penske cars making a lot of moves. I think any of the three of them are the favorites for the race.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, and not only the three Penske cars, of course, Paul Menard's in there with those guys, and Paul's been fast, man. For some reason, the Wood brothers always bring fast cars to Daytona. I just have a feeling Paul Menard's going to be our Daytona 500 winner.
What about Jeffrey Earnhardt?
Jeffrey was in yesterday's Xfinity race. So
I know. But Scott likes to talk about good old Jeffrey Earnhardt. So.
We want to touch on that real quick. Jeffrey Earnhardt is pulling a Ryan Preece. He took all his money, and instead of doing a full season, he's doing 9 good races with Gibbs, and it showed yesterday. He led 26 laps of that race, and he put on a great race. He almost had the first segment when I really thought he was going to win the first segment. I'm paying attention to Jeffrey Earnhardt in that Gibbs car all this year and see how he does with that.
I think Jeffrey Earnhardt's like a breath of fresh air. Like, he's a good old boy. He doesn't care what he says, and he proved that he can drive a car yesterday. I think. Well, only thing, nobody would go with him. Whenever he tried to drop down and go to the front, he couldn't get a drafting partner. He's got to earn that respect. And once they figure out that he can do it, then they'll stay with him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's something he's got to earn the respect of. And people are going to, now that he led that 26 laps in that race, they're going to say, wow, this guy can drive. He is in a good car. Let's start working with him. But plus, what Gibbs, you have your own teammates, too, to help you, too. So it's just a matter of them hooking up.
Now, Tim, you were talking about how he doesn't seem to care. I mean, he'll just say what he wants or whatever he's thinking. And that is, I know a lot of fans love that. But do you think that he can do that easier or has more confidence in that or gets away with it more just because he has that last name tied to him?
It probably does help. And Dale Earnhardt himself was a good old boy. That's why people liked him. He was the working man's hero. And I think Jeffrey carries that feel with him. I think a lot of his fans, Dale's fans, will take up with him. He's just got to prove that he can do it. I don't know how many races he actually has, left.
He's doing 9 with Gibbs, so that was his first one. So he has 8 left with Gibbs, and he just announced that he does have a Cup deal going on too, and that's also going to be affiliated with Gibbs. It's going to be like a satellite team, so he's going to be doing something.
No, what is that sponsor?
I don't know what the sponsor was, but it is a sponsor-driven team where the driver, the sponsor, is also the owner of the car. So it's somebody new coming in the racing, but I'm not sure. I don't remember who it was.
Now, I don't want to sound like I'm pandering too much to our local guys, but Truex was up there and running, I think, pretty well overall. I'm not saying he had it to win, but he was in the top 5 for most of it.
Truex isn't a Gibbs car. It's not like he's underdog or anything.
Yeah. So I was just saying, you're talking about somebody to watch. That would be what I would put out there for that.
But if you are looking for an underdog, I mean, you can look at Front Row Motorsports. David Reagan and Michael McDowell. They're always fast at the restrictor plate races. And Brendan Gaughan's another one. He has a 4-race deal, and it's all super speedways, and he was able to race his way in. And last year he was in the top 5 with like 4 laps to go because he did have a shot last year, and I think he's going to be up there again this year. So he's one of the underdogs I'm looking at in this race as well.
When we look at this style of racing, attitude and respect for one another seems to be a huge part of it. And Tim Riggleman, I want to get your input on this. Restrictor plate racing is a headliner for a lot of spotters who are, kind of in the limelight more so than they may be on, let's say, an intermediate track, at least before 2019. How important is that rapport between spotter and driver in general? And then how much more is it emphasized when we look at some of the racing that takes place in close proximity at like a Daytona or Talladega?
I think at Daytona and Talladega, it's more communication. It's not, you can only say so many words so fast. If you listen to them they use more code than they do anything else. It's just not like clear or 4 car lengths. They're using code like one word codes, so the driver knows what he's saying fast.
You got to itch it.
Yeah, and it's just part of the game there. Like the driver's got to trust his spotter, sure, but they got to get all that lingo down.
Now, Tim, talking about spotters in Daytona, do you think this is one of the tracks where they utilize 2 spotters because the track's so big? Do you think they have a spotter on the back straightaway?
They were talking about that yesterday. Joey Logano said that they're only using 1.
Really?
With binoculars. I guess there's really nowhere for them to sit back there anymore. They took the grandstands down, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, after they had that, what was it, the modified race on the backstretch a few years back.
Yeah, with the world's longest pit lane.
Yeah.
They'd almost go around to the real pits to pit.
Now, we're talking about people to watch. Eric Graham mentioned the Penske cars. Should be noted, Brad Keselowski going to be starting back in the mid-30s after problems in the duels. Never won the Daytona 500, 2012 Cup Series champion. Also, Kyle Busch, the 2014 Cup Series champion, also has never won the Daytona 500. And let's look back in history to some of the drivers who have come through the sport of NASCAR that also never won a Daytona 500. Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, Bobby Labonte and Terry Labonte both have never won the 500. Tony Stewart was a driver who this race eluded him for so long. And also Carl Edwards, who recently wrapped up his career. And you can add Greg Biffle to that list as well. Drivers who made a splash in the sport of stock car racing but could never, ever put their hands on a Daytona 500 trophy. I would say that the way that the racing has panned out over the last few seasons, there's been a little bit more randomness, if that's even a word, that you can associate with the results of the 500 finishes. I mean, look at some of the drivers who have won it over the past few years. Trevor Bayne in 2011, so far his one and only win in the Cup Series. Last year, Austin Dillon, after that win in the 500, he really wasn't able to muster up any strong finishes. I think he only had 1 or 2 more top 10s after that event. How come we see this race kind of fall through the hands of some of NASCAR's best? Took Dale Earnhardt 20 years to win the Great American Race. Josh, what makes winning Daytona 500 so hard?
Well, I think with Earnhardt, it was some type of curse. Whether or not you want to be superstitious, but I mean, if you think about all the things that went wrong, and towards the very end, for him anyway, it almost seems beyond just bad luck.
And the thing that makes it even crazier that it took Earnhardt so long to win the 500. I mean, in the 90s, all through the 90s, he won every qualifier race. He won every 125, every 150, 10 races in a row. He would win the qualifier 10 years in a row, and come up short in the 500. He's won everything at Daytona, and it was just the 500 he couldn't win, but then he did finally win it.
Now, what year did he actually win it?
1998.
98, and then 3 years later, we lost him, and that's why. I mean, if you want to believe in some bad juju, it's. I think that's kind of the headliner for it. Anyhow, man, I think it's one of those things that it comes down to timing, and but we think about just super speedways, and you think of Carl Edwards getting up into the fence, that last-minute block because somebody gets a run, and it's whether or not you make that move in time. So if you want to blame the spotter, you want to blame the driver for who gets told to move when they move. I think that's really what it comes down to. There's so much luck involved, and there's so much about that timing for that last move.
Hey, plus at Daytona 500, it's only once a year. So really, you got a 15-year career, you only get 15 shots at it. You know what I'm saying? So
it's not like every week.
It's not like you're racing there every week.
There's going to be 39 losers. So
right, and there's 40 cars in there that are capable of winning. Talking about the 40 cars, and I know we're going a little backwards here. You mentioned that Ryan Truex and Joey Gase didn't make the race. They used to start 42, 43 cars. Would you like to see them put them in the race anyway, even though they didn't qualify, or do you like them having a cutoff?
What's it going to hurt?
Yeah. What do you think?
But then why,
why have qualifying?
Right.
Right.
Which whenever I argue as an official, let's just put them in. They go, well, I have qualifying.
Yeah, right.
And people put a lot of effort in the qualifying, so you have to reward them for their efforts.
Qualifying's confusing enough there. They don't need to do anything else to it between the time trial, and then you got to do the 125s and everything else. So.
Yeah.
And I saw Bob Pockris respond to a fan's question on Twitter. Bob Pockris, of course, now a reporter with Fox Sports. And he said the purses are structured for 40 cars. So if you add 2 to the field, you could say those last 2 spots won't pay. But then what if a driver that did essentially qualify ends up finishing in the last 2 spots?
Well,
that's where the water gets a little muddy.
I've seen situations like that where there's actually like a buy-in. And
right,
you know what I'm saying. And plus, you can have a buy-in, or you just make the last 2 starters. They run for an abbreviated purse money. You know, not saying like say if the pole winner finishes 42nd, he only gets $50,000. Those guys have to maybe get into the top 30 to get more purse money. You know.
Yeah. How about an A main and a B main?
Well, now that brings me to my next point. The other topic of conversation that has. Right. The other topic of conversation that has gained a lot of momentum is the schedule itself. Now, for a long time, NASCAR would be down in Daytona for about 2 weeks' time. And even before that, they would show up for a couple days in January for pre-season testing. Well, now they show up on Saturday. They practice for a little bit. They have pole qualifying on Sunday, scheduled to run the class shortly thereafter. And then there's a 3-day break where there's really no action at all at the track. Duels Thursday, truck race Friday, Xfinity race Saturday, and then, of course, Daytona 500 on Sunday. However, being that we are seeing a little bit of delusion in terms of grandstand attendance, although the Daytona 500 has announced a sellout for 2019.
Well, that's
Kevin
easy when you
Harvick
remove seats.
Yeah, well, Harvick has been very vocal about condensing the Speed Week schedule, and we've seen Indianapolis do this with their Indy 500 coverage a few years back. Used to be a 3 or 4 week spiel, now knocked down to 2. Talk maybe it will get condensed even further. Do you guys think it's time that we kind of re-rack the way that we look at what used to be Speed Weeks, or more so just the preparation for the Daytona 500?
Well, I mean, if you only look at NASCAR, it makes total sense. But I look at Speed Weeks in a whole with the short tracks and stuff. And, like, a lot of people do go down there and they watch the Clash. And then those 3 days when there's no action at the racetrack, that's when they go to the short tracks. So it works out perfect if you go down there as a race fan, not just, say, a NASCAR Daytona big track fan. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of racing in the area of Volusia, New Smyrna. You can go over there and watch those races. And a lot of people do. Like, when you're at New Smyrna on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when there's nothing going on the big track, you see a lot of the big names over there. We touched about it on the last show. You know, you see people like Mark Martin and Martin Truex and Randy LaJoy, and I even heard Mike Helton went over there this year to one of the races too. So it gives those guys time to go back over and see their racing. Another thing that people don't understand what's going on at the racetrack for those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, is the Richard Petty driving experiences there using the track for track time. So it gives anybody who wants to ever get out on the racetrack time to get out there. So, I mean, there is stuff going on in the track, you know. Plus, I don't think you'll see NASCAR ever change it because they sell the TV time, you know. They need that race to be on TV the week before. It's not just the attendance in the grandstands, it's the viewership on TV as well.
But, Scott, we talked about what they're calling it right-sizing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, could that apply to even the TV? And I mean, as opposed to, like, the race hub every night.
It does make total sense to shorten it up this week. I mean, the teams are flying down there. They're racing the Clash, and then they're flying back home and working on the race cars and flying back down. It would make sense to shorten it up on the NASCAR side, but as Speed Weeks in a whole, it still works because there's so much racing going on during the week, you know. You know what? And Kevin Harvick, you know, saying he doesn't want to even see the Clash anymore because of the wrecking and what it costs the team owners the money. But you know what? The Clash is invitational. Kevin Harvick doesn't have to race it if he doesn't want it to. I remember being down there, and Brett Bodine was qualified through the way they were qualified, like, you know, a former winner or former pole winner or something like that. He met the criteria to race that race, but chose not to because he didn't have a car to wreck. You know, so he chose not to race it. So if Kevin Harvick doesn't like the Clash and doesn't want to see the Clash be there anymore, don't race it. You know what I'm saying? I like the Clash being there. I like watching racing, you know.
Well, I mean, as a fan, I'm going to watch, but as a driver, I could see both sides to that.
Yeah, I can see both sides, but like you said, it's not a points race. No one's holding a gun to his head to race it. If he doesn't like that race and the way it works out.
His sponsors might be.
Yeah, but don't cancel the whole race because his sponsor ain't going to go out there either. You know, there's guys that want to race that race. If he doesn't like that race and doesn't want to race it, put somebody else in the car.
Yeah, because that race is basically an invitational race. If you get invited to something you don't want to go, you don't go.
You don't go. Don't ask for them to do away with the whole party because you don't want to go to it.
And being that Jim France is now taking over the helm as far as being the head of NASCAR and the chairman and CEO of the sport, and Steve Phelps is now serving as the acting president of the sport, it sounds like everything is on the table as far as what's going to happen, not just in 2020, but maybe even beyond that in 2021, as they've now talked about the introduction of a new car, be it a Gen 7 car, where a concept photo was floating around, which kind of took a lot of both Phelps and France's comments and dialogue, and even Steve O'Donnell chimed into some of that as well, and kind of gave us an idea or a vision of what the car would look like, trying to mirror more of the production model vehicles that you see on the streets, also trying to reduce horsepower, again, to try to make it so that way it's a little bit more appealing and attractive to outside manufacturers, maybe trying to bring in a couple more overseas partners. I know that many of the anti-Toyota folks are against that idea, but the bottom line is they do pay their fair share of the bills, and they help put a lot of cars on track. So the vision is there. But back to the Speed Weeks discussion, specifically, and let's start by kicking off our coverage of what was a wild and messy Truck Series race on Friday. Only 9 cars finished the race out of the 32 that started, 9 trucks, I should say. And the win went to Austin Hill, who was driving for the defending championship Hattori Racing Team. Hill was under heavy fire after the fact that he was able to bring enough funding and sponsorship to that ride to keep it open, even though he took away the seat from the outgoing champion, Brett Moffitt. Hill was able to back things up with a solid run and a win at Daytona, but all the torn-up equipment and all the cautions and all the cleanups and all the time that it took kind of revisited back to the question of should the trucks be racing at Daytona, also Talladega.
Yeah.
We've hinted the fact that New Smyrna was a big deal, but Eric Grant, I'll let you chime in on this.
Something exciting finally happened to Daytona, you want to get rid of it?
Yeah. No, I enjoy the trucks
That's
at
the most
Daytona.
Eric Brennan thing I've heard.
Yeah. I enjoy
I'm posing the question.
The poor cars are getting wrecked.
No, I enjoy the trucks at Daytona. This was just a bad year for the trucks. I mean, there's been years where they don't wreck. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a bad race. It kind of reminded me of like the old ARCA races.
Looked like an ARCA race.
Yeah, it looked like an ARCA race. Not only were they wrecking on the track, they were running over pit crew members and spraying fire extinguishers in crew members' faces. It was a total mess on and off the track. It was a mess. I liked it. I enjoyed watching it.
There's a good chance that'll be the most exciting race of the week.
And you know what? And even when the truck race is not a wreck fest and a good race, sometimes that's the best race of Speed Weeks.
Oh, I agree.
There's 3 races I really enjoy with Speed Weeks. Well, one is the ARCA race. I just like ARCA. I love ARCA. I also enjoy the truck race and the 100-lap Richie Evans Memorial at New Smyrna. They're my 3 favorite races during Speed Weeks. And then the 500's 4th. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's some great racing down there, you know. And, I hope they never take the trucks off that track. It was just a bad showing for the trucks.
It was, but I mean, there was a debris issue for all those left tires.
Yeah, there had to be something on the track. So who do you blame on that? You know, they should have spotted that because there was definitely something on the track cutting tires causing these wrecks. You know? Yeah,
well, right off the bat, I mean, it was just a terrible start. They did get going better for a little while after that. I mean, it was a bad luck or tough luck for Natalie Decker in her first appearance. But did you see the fire getting into the cockpit?
Yeah.
Coming up through there.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for trying to rush out of there. I mean, guys are jumping over the wall trying to yank her out of the car.
But, I mean, when there is a lot of wrecks like that, and there's always some of the benefits from that, and it really shines on it. And this year it was Angela Rush, which is her name used to be Angela Cope, which is Derek Cope's niece. She ended up with an 8th place finish, I believe. And it's a shame because they said her truck was down a cylinder at the end of the race. And people were saying, oh, she only finished 8th because she made it through the wrecks. Oh, well, number 1, that's part of it. Number 2, no, she was
That's
fast.
a huge part of racing.
Yeah, it's a huge part of racing.
Anyone that says that's never raced.
Right.
Yeah, especially the sportsman division.
But to defend her a little bit, before the wrecking happened, she was fast. She was up front and battling up front. That was a Joe Nemechek truck. Joe Nemechek always brings fast trucks and cars down to Daytona. She was running good. It's a shame. And they're like, oh, at the end she backed off so she didn't get wrecked. No, she was down a cylinder. The truck was overheating. It was getting ready to blow up.
But even if she did back down to avoid the wrecks, I would not blame her.
There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody else has the same option. They can back down too and make it through the wrecks, you know?
Exactly.
I've actually told a couple. I'm usually one of the last people that get to talk to the race car drivers when I'm a pit official. And I've told rookie sportsman driver, I said, just stay out of trouble, take it nice and easy, and you'll probably get a top 10, and it usually works out for him.
I mean, that's our goal with Nancy. I mean, look at Turkey Derby. We had 26 cars. She was something like 22nd. I said, listen, just take it easy. Mr. Rex, you'll have a good finish. Sure enough, that's exactly what she did. She finished 10th. So, I mean, it works. You know?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with more.
I think one of the problems with
speaking of some of those drivers in the Truck Series race, we mentioned Austin Hill got the win. Grant Enfinger, veteran racer in the 98. I thought he was going to be able to make a pass. His truck had a lot of damage to it, though. He finished second. Ross Chastain, who had that incredibly turbulent offseason that we documented here on the RPM podcast, he's got a lot of races lined up for him now. He finished third in the truck race on Friday. Spencer Boyd got a career best in his first fly driving for Tyler Young's team in fourth. And Matt Crafton faded the fifth. Josh Rayholm, there's a really interesting video of him after he climbs out of his truck. Team finished sixth, and you would have thought they won the thing. That finish meant so much to them. Timothy Peters and a one-off for him, driving for Al Nais. Probably just botched that name, but that's okay. Seventh, Scott mentioned Andrew Rush was in eighth. Austin Wayne Solid ninth. Stuart Friesen, who did not finish. It shows he was running at the end, but he was actually no, he did not finish the race. Still had a top 10 with a DNF. That's incredible. As for my input on it, I would love to see the trucks run a race on Sunday night with the K&N cars at New Smyrna the week before their action at Daytona. And then I would love to see them on the high banks, but I liked them more when they were unrestricted back in 2000, 2001, where they were still running about 200 miles an hour, but they weren't on top of each other. And I understand that Jeffrey Bodine's big wreck in 2000 kind of spooked them a little bit. I would file that under more of a freak accident. But the package they have now just kind of promotes them to push and shove and aggressively side draft to kind of run at a wad, which created all those crashes that we saw. Entertaining, yes. Necessary, perhaps not. But it did create a lot of feel-good stories. So I guess that's how
you're one of the few people. You're one of the few people that enjoy the high-speed parade that we had the day after the truck race. I'm guessing. When the most exciting thing that happened was a roof hatch coming off over and over again.
But fuel mileage. But then again, you'll never see the NASCAR pull the trucks from Daytona because they are trying to fill that week. I mean, this has been going on forever. Even when I was a kid, they tried running the modifieds down there on the big track. Then they did something even crazier. It wasn't working on the big track, so they put the modifieds on the road course during speed weeks. They used to have the Goodies Dash series for a day down there. They'll keep having the trucks at Daytona because they need to fill the week.
I like the Goodies Dash series.
I love the Goodies Dash series. I was even looking into getting one, and that's when they changed hands, so I kind of backed out of it because the series was going away. It was definitely something that I looked into, and at the time it was affordable, and I think I could have put something together and ran some super speedway races, but unfortunately NASCAR got rid of the division.
Did anybody else see that article? I didn't read the whole thing about them trying to get some football games going on at Daytona.
Yeah, I read that too. I mean, they did it at Bristol and the place was packed, but if you looked at some of the pictures there from where people were sitting to see the football field, they were far away, man.
Is that kind of like the Winter Classic for the NHL where it's in the middle of a baseball stadium?
Right. You're too far away, I mean, they are trying it, and they might do it, and it might be something special like a Winter Classic in hockey, but I can't see that like a football team like the Jacksonville Jaguars like playing every home game there and something like that,
Meanwhile, they're building a motocross track.
Yeah. I mean, when racetracks start doing that, it's kind of like a move with desperation, and
you can't blame them for trying to branch out.
Yeah, they try to branch out. They try something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's something like they'll do it once or twice, and then it'll fizzle out. I'm sure. Just the sight lines aren't there. The sight lines aren't there. There'll be some good seats that could see it, and then there's somebody you'll be just too far away.
Yeah. I agree. Did anybody else hear? Has there been any update on that Obica team that announced?
Was that the craziest thing you ever heard? Just so people don't know, that's the 97 Cup team. They say they're going to about 37 races last year, and I think over the last 2 years, I think they announced they were going to 37 races, and I think they showed up to 12. So they have a record of doing this, and they did it again this year. It was the craziest thing because they had a big press release and announcement at the NASCAR Hall of Fame on like Monday, and then like Thursday they don't even show up to the racetrack. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We've talked about this once before when people put press releases out and say they're going to a race, but they need a little more sponsorship. It's almost like they're fishing. You know what I'm saying? Like
I was gonna say, it's almost like they're Eric Brennan.
Yeah. They use Eric Brennan's excuses for not showing up. But yeah, it's almost like they say, "Listen, we're here, we're going to race," and they're hoping one more person says, "Hey, we'll help you with this," and go out. And it's a shame for the driver of that truck. I heard an interview with him, and he was under the knowledge that the team was fully funded, because not only did they announce they were going to Daytona, they were racing the whole year and didn't even show up to Daytona. So he thought he had a full ride for the whole year, and then so he thought the team was fully funded to do this, and then I guess the team thought he had the funding to do this. So they both stared at each other like, well, who's paying the bills? And then when the bills didn't get paid, they didn't go.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean that's something where, and you know what, there were a lot of things that happened in the past few weeks which just are not good optics, and that was the first one. I mean, I don't know how they allow a team or an organization to have a press conference at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, inviting all members of the media to come out and show up and kind of partake in the festivities, and then just not show up. Right. I don't know how the sanctioning body could allow something like that to happen. Granted, not their fault, but still, you should kind of know the people you're doing business with, and if they're representing the brand as a professional racing team, you got to filter a little bit better than that.
You're right. I agree with you, Eric, and it is a catch-22 situation. I mean, one of the benefits and the reasons NASCAR built the Hall of Fame, because it gives a great place and a platform for a team to make that announcement. But now with this team making this bogus announcement, it puts NASCAR in a difficult position where it
hurts their credibility.
Yeah, it hurts their credibility. Now they might have to check it out a little bit before they allow them to come make this announcement to make sure it was true. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was the first time it's happened, and I'm sure they're going to take a look at everybody from here on out who makes these announcements to make sure the announcement is actually true.
Well, wouldn't you think that they would know that they didn't pre-sign for the race? Like, did they buy entry fee and all that? I mean,
I don't know how far they got, but Tanner Berryhill, the kid that was supposed to be driving the truck, said he started noticing it 2 weeks prior to, because he was trying to order parts because he was helping them put the team together, and they were like, hold off on that, hold off on that. And it got to the point where he was trying to order an engine, and they're like, hold off on that. So he said he started seeing it fall apart, but he was still hoping for the best, you know?
Well, NASCAR's they should have known.
Nope.
What was that?
Eric started to say something, and then I think he got confused.
I was holding off to leave the floor open for the rest of you guys. And then the next thing that happened that was kind of odd, and Eric Graham was touched on this on social media during the Clash practice. I almost want to say shootout practice. When Kevin Harvick got involved in an incident with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin and Ryan Newman, the track crew was just kind of looking at the car for about 10 minutes before they realized they wanted to allow the team to roll out 4 new tires, bolt them on, and let Harvick drive it back because he had flat spotted most of them. But it killed about 20 minutes of practice time. Now, granted, I don't think anybody was going out anyway. I don't think they were going to be partaking in any more of the session. It just didn't look good. It looked like you had a bunch of track workers who did not know what they were doing, and it was weird. It was just a weird thing to watch for a lot of people. A lot of people had eyes on that, as it was the first real session of the year. And Eric, I know that you touched on it at the time. It just didn't look productive or functional. It was ugly.
No, apparently NASCAR gave the teams the option to put a tow bar in there, but the teams opted not to do it for whatever reason. And then the cars just sat there. Kevin Harvick was cutting his hand open. That was the most exciting thing that happened in 45 minutes. It actually took 47 minutes for them to get the cars to the pits. In my opinion, it was pretty embarrassing. I don't know.
The way NASCAR said they gave them the option, like he said, but on the track, Kevin Harvick said, "Don't touch my car. I don't want you to pick it up and rip the aerodynamics off of it." And NASCAR said, well, considering it was not a points race and nobody was going out on the track, they gave them the time to go put the tires on the cars. It was just a courtesy thing on both points. And they've done that before in non-point races. They've let Jeff Gordon start another car after he wrecked one in the first lap of the race and they didn't complete a lap. He got to put a whole other car out there. It's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things,
In the grand scheme, no one's going to remember it. It was just a really bad look when it happened.
And the worst part about it, we have this trouble at Wall Stadium too, and as an official, is NASCAR does give them an option to put tow hooks on the car so they can be towed off. And Kevin Harvick didn't have the tow hooks. So what do you say then? You say, well, this is the reason we give you the option to have tow hooks.
But that's
you didn't put them on, so now we're dragging your car out of here. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you're losing your body work, because you opted not to
put the tow hooks
right.
in.
Yeah, that should be it. End of story.
Yeah, sorry about your luck, you know. And then the other thing was, which in fact Scott alluded to earlier, in the truck race when Natalie Decker's truck caught fire, I need to know who that guy was with the fire extinguishers behind.
I love that guy. He's my hero.
Because that was unbelievable. But and the team was motioning for him to go out there to the truck, and he just. And I don't know if he was under direct orders to not cross the pit wall.
That's exactly it, Eric. I've been on pit road a lot, and if you're over on pit road, the firemen actually have like a little red square painted right behind pit wall, and that's their area, and they don't leave that area. And if you watch that fire extinguisher shoot, you've seen how far it shot. They're designed to be able to put the car out from that red box the fireman's standing in to cover that pit spot. So he did exactly what he was instructed to do, and the fire extinguisher worked from that distance. It was fine. The funny thing was, when he was setting it down, when the fire was out, he accidentally hit it again and sprayed it all over the driver and the crew guys, so that was kind of funny. But no, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. I mean, that fire extinguisher was something else. I even told Nancy, I said, you better look in to get one of them. I want a couple from my shop, because if there's ever a fire, like, did you see that fire extinguisher? He shot that thing from 20 feet and it put that fire out like it was nothing. I said, I need one of them for the garage.
Scott, do you still have that stove in the shop?
Yeah, I saw the wood stove.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
In those firemen, in defense, like when we go to the tour races at like Loudon and Bristol, and they're there, they stand in that red box all day long.
Yeah, in the heat, wearing a fire suit.
They're in there from like 7 o'clock in the morning till we leave at night. They never leave that box. They get like a half-hour lunch break.
I mean, that fireman did exactly what he was supposed to do. He put that fire out from his red spot, and he waited for the crew to tell him to put it out, because I'm sure I've yelled at track crews because I've had a simple piece of rubber on fire on my brakes, and they're trying to put it out with the fire extinguisher. I know it's a piece of rubber on my brakes. I'm telling them, please don't spray this stuff, because I don't want it all over my car. So he waited for them to say, go ahead and put it out. And he put it out. You know, I don't think he did anything wrong other than by accidentally hitting it the second time and spraying everybody with it.
And I've been hit with that because, I run the screen instead of a windshield, instead of the Lexan windshield on my car. And I had a small, one of the battery wires caught fire. And they saw the flame, they ran over, and they went to put it out. And because of that screen, it came right through, and I ended up choking on that stuff for quite a while. And that is some pretty nasty stuff.
I actually had my dash catch fire during a race once, so I just patted it out with my glove.
Well, at least you could reach it. I couldn't reach it.
We're going to have derby where we were down in the infield, and they had a fire where they had to stop competition with the demo derby, and they told another driver, you have to turn your motor off, and he refused. So one of the track crews sprayed it right in the air intakes. That would kind of starve the motor of oxygen and turn it off itself. But the driver got so mad, he went to get out of the car. Well, they sprayed him with the fire extinguisher too, and it was hysterical. Alric, I think we'll be down there for that with him.
I'll tell you what though, like I'm one of the officials for the demo derbies now. That is some sketchy stuff when you got to run out there with a red flag, because it's smoke and steam everywhere, and you're running up to the cars telling them to stop while they're smashing each other. You know,
it's like an end of the world movie. You're like running into,
I know one official that would do it.
Do what?
Run out there with cars still running around.
I did it at Turkey Derby.
No, another one I know, but I'm not going to say his name right now.
All right, Eric, anyway, we got our first guest of the afternoon. Lee Allen just sat down with us, and we're going to do a quick interview with Lee. So just to let you know that Lee's sitting with us now, and he's ready to be interviewed.
Hi, how you doing?
Lee, how's it going, buddy? For those of you who don't know Lee Allen, he's former. In fact, when I first started announcing that wall, he won the Neats Enduro Championship back in, I think it was 2012.
What hasn't he won? He's like the other Scott.
Well, that's why we want to make Lee Allen our first guest, because we can talk any type of racing, whether we can talk dirt, asphalt, modifieds,
how about
factory stocks, Enduros.
Let's talk about the state of Formula E.
We can even go back to his go-kart roots. He helped his nephew and his daughters and quarter midgets. He can talk about anything with
slot car racing.
Yep. The only division I don't think I've run was full-blown modified. So I've been up there, run all the classes on dirt and asphalt. So a lot of fun.
So now, Lee, primarily what I've been able to associate you with was the 8-cylinder stock car portion of racing, whether it be at Wall, whether it be down at the shorter track at Bridgeport. Why have you taken such a love? And you don't only field cars for yourself, you field cars for everybody. I know Vinny Troyo's driven your stuff for a short while down at the short track at Bridgeport. What is it about those cars, and maybe you and Scott can kind of relate to this a little bit, that makes it so affordable, so doable, and so much fun?
Yeah, they're definitely more affordable. They're a lot more fun to drive. They're, I just can't explain it. It's just fun all around.
Well, I have 2 of Lee's cars, and Nancy was going to drive the one time, and she couldn't make it down there, so I had my friend Jason drive it. And he's a great asphalt racer, and he didn't race for a few years, and he never raced dirt. He's like, well, I'll come drive it, but, what should I expect? I said, you know what? It's like racing in a field with your friends. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a great time being on that quarter-mile dirt track down there, and the speeds aren't that fast, but they're fast enough so you get the excitement of speed, and it's just fun racing. It's exactly what I just said. It feels like you're racing a field car in a field with your friends. It's just a good time.
Yeah.
Now, Lee, do you have a preference over the dirt or the asphalt side, or do you love them both equally? I know you've been doing the dirt stuff a lot more over the last couple of years, but what's your favorite and why?
Well, I ran Wall Stadium when I was younger for many, many years. I've won heat races. I've won consolations. I've just never won a feature. And
amen, brother.
My problem was I was always sideways in the corner too much. A little lead foot going on. And I just went to dirt. And when I went to dirt, I just took off. If it wasn't for my brother, though, my brother helps me a lot with the chassis setups and everything like that. And we figured it out, and I'm just much better dirt driver than ever on asphalt.
I will say from experience, Lee will start off a race on asphalt and be great and right there hanging with everybody, and about 3 laps in, he forgets that he's on asphalt and starts going sideways, and it's fun to watch, and I love racing with him, but it's like, no, asphalt.
I just love being sideways, I guess. I grew up racing around on dirt roads in the woods, so.
Yeah.
Another cool thing about racing dirt, and it probably helps Lee too, choose to race dirt more than asphalt, is there's more options. There's more dirt racetracks up here. There's, going out to Pennsylvania, New York, and even right here in New Jersey, there's just more options to go racing on dirt. And you can bring the same car to different tracks easily. Like where when you have an asphalt car for Wall Stadium, it's hard to take it to another racetrack and fit their rules. Where dirt works more with the drivers, so where the rules are closer, so you can travel a little bit more.
Yeah, they keep it a little more equal at all the different tracks.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, we've seen the evolution of factory stock racing at Wall Stadium kind of over the last 4 or 5 years, I should say, where a lot of teams are starting to go towards engine builders for some of the other series in order to prepare their factory stock ride. Things have gotten incredibly close on the stopwatch. And it also seems like that there is beginning to be a bit of a correlation as to how much you're willing to put into your race car as to what you get out of it, which is something that, yes, it sounds like it's the norm for all racing series, but it wasn't the premise for the factory stocks. Is dirt racing a great equalizer? Is that where you can take an underperforming vehicle or a car that doesn't have the biggest budget in it and perform well? Is that another reason why you guys love it so much?
It's about the handling too. If your car doesn't handle, you're not going through the corner, and it slows you down. So it's a big difference.
And to answer your question a little bit about that, Eric, a car I got from Lee Allen was set up for dirt. The car only had a 305 engine, and I was racing against cars with 350s, and I won 7 times with it this year.
Wow.
Simply by just finishing the races and holding the car together. Sometimes you don't need the fastest motor on dirt, where if the track's real slippery and stuff, you're not using your power anyway, So yeah, but then again, I've seen races where you need big motor. I mean, when Lee races the 5/8 mile at Bridgeport, if you don't have big steam down there, you're not going to win. So.
Yeah, that's a definite. I struggled a little this year in the outlaw stock. It was the first year I've run in that class, and I got faster. I finished second like 3 times. I finished in the top 5 almost every single race. So we were there. We just needed that little bit, and yeah, it's in the motor. Yeah. Definitely.
And sometimes dirt you don't need motor, and it all depends what size track you're racing, what the track conditions are, how wet it is, how dry it is, stuff like that. Another good thing about dirt too that I like, I figured out this year with the factory stock and the way they have the factory stock tire bankroll. I spent $2,900 on tires at Wall Stadium this year.
Wow.
My dirt car, I bought 4 tires from Barney's for about $400, and I ran them all year. And I'm going to run them again this year. So one thing I like about dirt is the tires. The tires last longer, and your annual tire bill is a lot cheaper.
Yeah, the Outlaw stock, I spend a little more money on the tires, but with the Enduro racing, not so much.
Now, Lee, we normally see Scott build his race schedule around Wall Stadium. He kind of adheres to the Wall Stadium calendar and then plants a lot of extras all the way around it as he can. When you're building your racing program for the year, being that you do in fact race almost anything you can get your hands on, what's your priority? As you look at it in 2019, what's first and foremost in your mind on your racing calendar? And then what are some things that you may not have done yet that you want to be able to check off your racing bucket list?
Well, now that I'm running the Outlaw stock, that's my main focus right now is Bridgeport. I'm running, for points there, and then I fit everything else out, and I can along the season like Scott would,
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I do, too. I look at the Wall Stadium schedule, and that's my main focus point. And then what's cool about racing the dirt car, there's, Big Diamond races on Friday nights, Grandview races on Sunday nights, Bridgeport races my Enduro cars on Friday nights. That's how I do it, I just fit it around the Saturdays, and if for some reason they have a race on Saturday, that happened to me this year. I was second in points at Grandview, and we had a race at Wall Stadium, so I had to I had to pick, I had to choose, and I chose Wall. Wall's my my focal point, and everything else is comes in. But even with Lee, it's even a little more difficult because he just mentioned his Outlaw stock. He focuses 100% on Bridgeport. That's his first focus. But then again, he can run New Egypt with that car too. So he's got to choose New Egypt or Bridgeport on top of that.
Yeah, New Egypt I'll fill in when I'm not racing at Bridgeport, and then the Enduro gets filled in from there. So,
but from someone from the outside looking in, they would see that you live closer to New Egypt. Why do you pick Bridgeport over New Egypt? Is it you just like the size of the track down there, or?
I just like everything about Bridgeport. Them guys, they're good people down there. They take good care of us, and I just love the race there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors in the choosing stuff. Sometimes it's sponsor-driven, too. Sometimes I got to race Wall Stadium because I have local sponsors, and they sponsor me because I race at Wall Stadium. They don't sponsor me because I'm out at Big Diamond racing,
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors. It could be simply as something as weather. We can look at the weather and say, well, it's going to pour Saturday at Wall Stadium. I better go race Friday at Big Diamond because I want to race this weekend. Me and Lee had called each other during the week. I'm like, man, I'm looking at the weather. Where do you want to go this weekend, So, yeah, there's a lot of factors going in. But you have to sit down with the schedules at the beginning of the year and decide where you're going to race in, which is the most important to you.
We do have some weeks, though, where we're going to run on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday.
I love weekends like that. I mean, you're tired when you got to go to work on Monday, but it makes for a fun racing weekend.
Two or three races in a weekend. It's big.
For those of you who may be filing into the River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar, I want to remind you that you're listening to the RPM podcast as we are about 1 hour away from the green flag of the 2019 Daytona 500. I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. I hope to be back in a few weeks' time, a few months' time, when we have our Talladega race party at River Rock. Don't forget to tip your bar and wait staff. They have raffles and giveaways and some race pools that are going to be taking part all throughout the afternoon. And I see they're passing out tickets for all the giveaways that are on hand. If you didn't have a chance, step outside and take a look at some of the stock cars that are on display. And again, we are just about 1 hour away from the green flag of the NASCAR season. Lee, just want to let you know, a couple weeks back, we all saw that you had a loss in the family with the passing of your mother. Wanted you to know that we are thinking about you and we love you. And heading into the season, I'm sure you'll have an extra angel riding along with you. How instrumental was your family in your racing career to help you get to where you are today? And who else helps make everything possible for you to help you get to the track on a weekly basis?
Well, my mother even drove a race car in my family, so she ran a lot of the powder puffs like Nancy does. She also raced go-karts, and she's going to be sadly missed.
Did she go to a lot of your races?
She lived in Florida for a long time. She didn't really get to see me race too much, but she was always wondering what was going on with the racing, though.
Yeah, I mean, not only does Lee race, Lee's brother Chris races, and Lee's nephew also races, Chris Allen Jr.
And both my daughters, they
both,
race.
Yeah. I mean, the whole family raced.
Every one of us at one time raced, yes.
And that's another thing Lee's got to work out in his schedule, too. Not only does he drive his own race cars, but he helps his nephew as well with the sprint car, and that sprint car schedule gets a little crazy, too. So there's times he's got to run out on a Wednesday night or something out in the middle of Pennsylvania and help his nephew on the sprint car.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get to watch a kid race. He's definitely a wheel man.
Now, Lee, I mean, you basically grew up. I remember you being at most of the tracks that me and my brother were at growing up at the same exact races. I was just curious, what racetrack that's closed now that you wish you could have raced on?
Oh.
Did you ever race on Old Bridge, or was that closed before you started racing?
Yeah, that was closed way before,
Your dad raced at Old Bridge, though, right?
I probably would have liked to race on Nazareth, I think.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me and Tim used to go there and watch, and we used to sit in the grandstands. I'm like, man, I'm going to race at this track one day. And then one day it closed, and I didn't ever race
If you talk to Robbie Gordon and get one of those stadium trucks, super trucks, you can still race at Nazareth.
Believe it or not, I've raced many, many racetracks. I've raced Pocono International, Summit Point, West Virginia, and every local track around, so.
Lee, do you have any tracks that are especially hard on tires?
Ooh. Yeah. I guess the old New Egypt Speedway back in the day was a little rough on the tires, but there was a lot of fun racing there, though.
Okay. I remember Scott telling the story about the seashells in the asphalt that were tearing up the tires.
Yeah. Well, you go to different racetracks in different states. They got a different way of paving the racetracks. And Myrtle Beach is famous for having the seashells in the track and eating up the tires.
Is there a track that's currently open that you still want to go to that you've never been at?
Ooh, wow. That's a good question.
Just say Eldora.
I've always wanted to go to Orange County.
You never raced nothing there?
No, I've never been there. The class is a little different than ours.
Yeah.
I always wanted to race there. Give it a try.
Yeah, I've been there. I went there a couple times just to watch with Kevin Ayers and Stuart Friesen, and the track gets really hard. It almost turns into an asphalt track. It gets real hard, and it's a cool track because on the back straightaway they got people that park up there almost like driving movie theater type deal, and it is a cool track, and they do have like an Enduro race there too. But I've been kind of looking into that too. I like to try that track also.
It's a very old facility, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's laid out,
and they're fixing it up now too. Chris Larson bought into that place, and he's really fixing the track up nice now. And there's a bar in the grandstand, so how can you go wrong there?
I like that place. It's got the old school Flemington feel. It's the way racing used to be.
I just want to add, Eldora has a bar in the pits.
In the pits.
All
right, we're changing that. We want to race Eldora.
Yeah.
What about divisions? Is there another division you'd like to try yet before you're done racing? Or are you pretty happy just doing what you're doing?
If I ever moved up, I'd probably go to dirt modifieds.
Like a crate 602? Or would you
I've already run them. I've run them for quite a few years. I would probably go to the modifieds to feel the horsepower difference,
Yeah, right.
It's like Scott Brown, too. It really is. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just saying, well, Lee, we're all in preparation for the Daytona 500. I understand that with a lot of local racers, sometimes the big stage takes a bit of a back seat. Not sure how much you've been following the sport. Do you like anybody in particular today? What type of race do you think we're going to see? What do you think we have in store for us in just a short while?
My thing is, I don't really get to watch NASCAR too much. I don't really pay attention to what's going on too much. I'm just so focused on working on my cars and getting my stuff ready. I got way too many cars. I got other people driving for me sometimes, and I just too focused on it.
Lee, you're also a truck driver like me. You got to do what I do. I got satellite radio in my truck, and I just listen to the NASCAR channel all day. As soon as I get home, I don't even turn the TV on to watch racing because I'm working on the race car. But at least while I'm driving, I can follow NASCAR radio and keep up with what's going on while I'm driving during the day. Another question we ask, you've been to a lot of racetracks. You've been all over the country. Another one is we ask our guests, what's your favorite track food and what track did you have it at?
You know what? NES, they used to have that steak sandwich there.
Yeah, wasn't that London broil or something?
Yeah,
like
that London broil. that sandwich kicked butt, man. Yeah. And then they got rid of it, though, you know.
It got too expensive. I think they were charging too much to eat it or something like that.
It was good. It didn't matter how much it was.
It cost like 15 tickets.
I've heard a lot of people say that, Lee. A lot of people are a fan of that, and I'm surprised. They should be listening, man. They should bring it back.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, as we continue to prepare for the Daytona 500, I want to thank Lee Allen for taking the time to come on with us. Lee, we want to wish you the best in 2019. We're in the Outlaw stock and everything else you have in store. And also, our hearts are with you. I know it's been a tough month for you, buddy, and we're there for you every step of the way. Once again, Lee Allen, a very accomplished stock car racer in New Jersey. Thanks for coming on with us, buddy.
Thank you very much. Bye.
And once again, that is Lee Allen, as we are now less than an hour away from kicking things off in the 2019 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series season at Daytona. I saw Hannah DiMartino helping out with the race pools a little bit. Gary Larson is on the property. He's been shooting me a couple texts every now and then. Gary, I love you. I miss you. I know we'd probably be about 6 drinks deep by now, but I'll be back soon, I promise. So definitely more than that. Well, there's Hannah.
Hannah says hi.
So much going on as we prepare for the 500 event. As I filibuster while we get set for our next guest to come up. It's so hard to do this remotely. I really wish I was there. My fiance's also been a great sport by hanging out and letting me do this. So thank you, Haley.
Eric, I have a question for you. While you were in Disney, was there, being you were so close to Daytona and it was Speed Weeks, did you see a lot of racing presence in Disney?
Haley got so upset with me because every time I saw somebody with a race hat or a race shirt on, I said, I have to go talk to them. I have to go talk to them.
I agree.
And
I do
yesterday,
the same thing.
we watched the Xfinity race at a bar at the resort that we were staying at. And there was a gentleman wearing a Caterpillar hat, so I assumed he was a Daniel Hemrick fan. And he started talking to his wife, and he started saying how they were old dirt racers from up in New York. And I kept hoping he would turn around and notice that my eyes were glued to the television so we could start a conversation. But he had to get up and leave before I could do so. So, and the plan would have been to go to the 500. But the flight that we were taking, we would have to come back Tuesday, and I didn't want to miss 2 more days of work. So I figured I'd come home on time, jump on with you guys, and we could all watch the race together, essentially.
It's funny because when we took my kids to Disney a few years ago, I was more worried about getting over to where the old racetrack was to see the old racetrack in the parking lot than I was going into the Magic Kingdom. Did you get to go over there? Is it still there?
There's not much left over there. They made that into a parking lot, Tim, but if you do know where it used to be, it's right by the gas station there. I think it's a Speedway. Ironically, it's a Speedway gas station. And if you were to walk out of the Speedway gas station, like Quickie Mart or whatever, and walk through the pumps and across the street, that's where turns 1 and 2 was. And you can still see in the landscape where 1 and 2 was, but that's the only thing that's left. The rest of it's still parking lot.
When we were there, we drove around, and I actually found a hole in the fence, and I climbed up, and I got
I was down there a long time ago with John Blewett III when the track first closed down, and we stopped too and walked right in and walked around the track. Eric, just so you know, Tim Mayjack just sat down with us. We can do a quick interview with Tim.
He should be able to see him. I don't know if he's living.
I do, and Tim, I've always wanted to. I've only had small conversations with Tim. Of course, Tim, driver and now winner in the factory stock ranks at Wall Stadium Speedway, driving the beautifully painted and designed number 74 car. And Tim was the bad luck bandit for just a short while. It seemed like every time we watched him,
a long while.
Poor guy had to put he had to put a front clip on that car. It seemed like for multiple weeks in a row. Finally got it to where it was consistent. And he's won a number of races so far. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, real good. How are you?
You know, Tim Mayjack almost won the Turkey Derby. Tim Mayjack wasn't the Turkey Derby winner.
It should have been a 45-lap race.
but Tim didn't leave there with a title. He didn't leave there as the Turkey Derby winner. He left there as the Turkey Derby spinner. So not only did he spin out once leading the race, he spun out twice leading the race with 5 laps to go.
Thanks, Scott.
Tim, before we talk about your racing career, I've heard so much, and even just from dialogue between you and I, about what you do off the track. I've heard racing police officer, I've heard construction, I've heard animal whisperer. So aside from the race car, what keeps you active throughout the week, and what exactly do you do not only for the profession, and where did the love of animals come from?
I've been a police officer 24 years now. I have one more year to go until I retire. As you mentioned, I also have a construction business. We do. I have a great crew. We do kitchens, additions, bathrooms. So I stay busy with that. I have a couple kids. The animal thing came. I've always been an animal guy, and it just happened upon on 3 or 4 different occasions. Trapped deer. Like one of them was in a soccer. 2 of them were in soccer nets, where I went and kind of wrestled the deer down and cut the soccer net out. And another one was stuck down a sewer. Where I picked up. I was working police at that time, and I picked up the sewer grade.
You're like a walking beer commercial.
Something like that.
How did you get involved in racing? Like, I got involved in racing because my grandfather raced, my father raced. We only lived 2 or 3 miles from the racetrack, so we always knew the racetrack was there. Josh got involved in racing by going to the track and videoing the racing, and then he started driving. We all got stories how we got involved in racing. How did you find out about racing, and how did you get turned on to it?
You know what? I really never knew too much. I didn't even know Wall existed. I grew up with 3 sisters. My parents weren't into racing or anything, but I always liked cars. I was a car guy. I had a couple of street cars, and then I'm friends with Tom Rakowski, 91, and I went to one of his races one time, and I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, I got to do this.
Yeah.
This
Isn't that
great.
crazy? You lived in New Jersey all your life.
You never knew it was
never knew Wall Stadium was there.
But now you see, too, you tell people you race, and they go, oh, what do you race at Englishtown? I'm like, no.
I know. For some reason, Englishtown, I don't know if it's the drag racing thing or just Englishtown because it was on TV because of drag racing, but I get the same reaction, too, when I drive with tow trucks and I got a customer in the truck and we just start small talking. I say, oh, I race. That's the first thing they say to me is, oh, you race Englishtown. And then when I say, well, no, I race Wall Stadium, and the first thing they always say to me is, oh, I thought that place closed down.
Right.
So it's crazy, you know?
I think, honestly, it was a lot of advertising because, everybody...
Yeah, they had that Summer
Nationals.
Yeah.
Plus the Night of Thunder and all the events they do there on Wednesdays and stuff. Got a lot of people there.
Yeah, they got a broader.
Everybody I tell now when I go there, I'm like, listen, if you've been to Englishtown and liked it, that's nothing compared to what we do.
Yeah.
Like this is a show.
I've said this on the show before. We always try to get new fans to come to. Like Nancy will invite friends from her work that are professional accountants, never been to an auto race in their life, and they always expect this. They always ask what they should expect when they get there. So, number 1, you can bring your own beer. So, bring your own beer. That's nice. Number 2, you're going to the Hillbilly Olympics. That's what we tell them. So they know what to expect when they get there.
But you know what? It's funny you said it because I do work in some nice towns. I do work in Westfield, Scotch Plains, some very nice towns, some very affluent people, successful people, and I've taken some of those clients. And all of them, they love it. Yeah. And they all say it's like Americana at its finest.
Right.
It really is cool.
It's almost like going to a drive-in movie theater.
It really is.
It's one of the last things
awesome.
left from the past. And
for me, I'm 52. I got involved when I was 49. I'm so glad I got involved with this. Like just to be a part of it and to meet everybody and just to act like, wow, I'm a race car driver.
Right.
This is cool.
So Tim, what's it like to be a Benny?
Well, he's not that far in North Jersey.
What's the other side of the bridge? Well, what is it?
It's over Benny Hill.
Or are we down the shore or at the beach?
I go to the beach.
I go to the beach too.
And by the way, it's pork roll.
Yeah, I was going to say the prime test. Is it pork roll or tail ham?
That's Taylor ham.
Yeah, you're Benny.
Now, Tim, when you first started racing at Wall, again, you just got bitten with bad luck week after week. We saw you have a terrible crash. We thought you were going to be out for a while, and then the very next week, car comes rolling in, and I don't know how, but it looked better than it did before you wrecked it. We went
through a lot of duct tape that week.
How did you not get discouraged when you had that stretch of bad luck? And was it the help of guys like Tom and I believe Ron Booth was another one who was helping you guys out at the time? Or was it the help of those people?
Absolutely. First of all, I loved it. Like Scott said, I got bitten by the bug, and I love doing it now. Tom Rakowski helped me a ton. I can't thank him enough. And now I'm teamed up with Richie Monjo, who helps me. He's like a god to me. All the work he does for me now. Tom kind of brought me up, and then Richie took me to that next level right now. So he's fantastic.
I got to know Tim because something happened to him, and the back of his car was all pushed in, and it was bent up pretty bad. And I was walking by to go to the bathroom. I looked over, and Tim was just kind of there staring at it like, oh my God, my car's wrecked. And I knew he was new to racing, so I kind of glanced at it. I said, this is something I can fix real quick for him. And
Quarter
get it back
power.
over. Yeah. So I said, what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know. My car's bent up pretty bad. I said, it's fixable. So I went back to my truck and got my quarter power over there. I walked there and Tim stood there and watched me sit there and push his car back straight. I'm like, you're good to go. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I'll buy one of those quarter powers next week.
And I did.
So in racing, yes, it gets discouraged, and there's a lot of ups and hills. There's a lot more lows in racing than highs, and a lot of people understand that. But sometimes the lows can be fun too. Like it's fun getting a group of guys together and saying, "Hey, my car's wrecked. Let's fix it." And you just work on it. You keep beating it out, and before you know it, after a couple hours of work, you step back and I'm like, "Wow, it's back to go."
The highs cost a lot less.
Yeah. The lows get expensive.
Yeah, the lows get expensive.
I agree.
So what are your plans this year? I mean, you've been getting better and better every year, like I told you would. Tim got mad at me also once, too, because he was leading a heat race, and I passed him in the last quarter of the last lap. He's like, man, you won so many races here.
My first one.
He's like, I wanted to win that heat race. Did you really need to pass me on the last time? I said, Tim, you're getting better. You're going to get a win, and it's going to be sweeter because no one let you win. And it was. 2 weeks later, he wins the race. I came over. I said, you're lucky I wasn't in that heat race. But now Tim's getting better every year. He's one of the guys that's really got dedicated to it and bought better equipment and better stuff. And he listens. Like, I like talking to him. I said, listen, this is what you're going to see out there tonight. This is going to happen. Keep an eye out for this. Do this, do that. And he actually listens. So you are getting better. What are your plans this year? Are you going to run the full season?
Yeah, well, actually, that's what I told him. I'm committed this year. Last year, I had some things to do, some personal things I had going on. This year, we built a great car, again, thanks to Richie and Shannon Monjo. And myself, I've been down a little bit too, but those guys have been great. Mike's performance has helped us out a lot with things. And I'm committed this year. I'm going to make every race. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to try to be a better driver this year, a little more patient. Wait for things to open up, so I'm not. What'd you guys call me? The wreck king or something? Some hard luck guy or something. Try to get away from that.
Now, Tim, even when that first win did come, that also came with a little bit of misfortune at the very end.
Yeah, a lot of misfortune.
I have a story about this when you're done.
I wasn't there for this, but when I saw that you got the win, I was incredibly happy for you, and I try to be unbiased, but at the end of the day, one of the nice guys in the pits, not only what you do at the track, but off the track as well.
Oh, thank you.
You finally get that black cloud off your back, and you finally get that trophy and that checkered flag, and then as you cross the finish line, a car spins in front of you, and you end up damaging the front end of that car as well. What happened that night?
You know what? I guess I think it was a 25-lap race, and right around the 23rd lap, I was like, man, I might actually win this thing. And I'll be honest with you, anybody that's been here knows their first win. That was like winning the Super Bowl for me. That was awesome. And I came across the finish line, and my whole family was there that day. My parents were there, my sisters were there, all friends and family. Like, just was one of those nights that was perfect. And I came across the finish line, and all of a sudden, I'm full throttle across the finish line because I think I had Montano about a car length in back of me, and about 4 cars just spun and created a wall in front of me, and I had nowhere to go. So
build the wall.
Yeah. Well, they built it, and I went from victory to my car was completely destroyed in about a half a second.
But you had to get across the line, and you did
Hell
that.
Yeah.
At that point, you just hold at a point when something like that happens, you just hold your foot to the floor and plow through it.
Well, when the safety crew came up to me,
are
you
okay? That's the story I was going to tell.
They're like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'll be honest, it was a hard hit. And I'm like, I won, right? Like, I did win, right?
That's not how they put the story, though. They said they ran up to the car, they came up to the car, and you were screaming, I won!
Maybe it was somewhere in between.
Oh, yeah, it's 2 sides, right? Or 3 sides.
But it was cool because they said I was the first guy to have the car towed into Victory Lane on the tow truck.
Yeah. I remember back in the 70s when I was a kid at the racetrack, someone got so excited they won they were going side by side with a guy going across the line, so he was floored, and he never slowed down for the corner and went straight into the fence. He didn't get towed to Victory Lane. They had Victory Lane with his car stuck in the fence in turn 1.
Well, that may have happened to me, too, if I didn't hit those other cars.
See, I remember when Marty Van Druten won, I think it was 2014. Gary Larson was there. I was at a wedding that night. And I remember he hit the wall so hard coming to the checkers. He got up on 2 wheels, but he still held on to win. So Tim just took it one step further for that first win. But so now, Tim, again, committed this season, plan to run. Do you have expectations now that you know what this victory lane feels like? Now that you know what the car's capable of? Now that you know who you're working with? Do you have a set expectation for the season, or are you just going to kind of take it 1 week at a time?
Yeah, he expects to finish second to me every night.
Yeah, you know what? I had one win last year, and I had a lot of a lot of nice finishes. I think I'm a better driver. I think I'm a smarter driver. I'm hoping I have a better car. We'll see what happens, a few weeks from now. Yeah, I mean, I would like to win a few races next year.
Yeah, and I definitely think you will. And just to let you know from experience, the first win's the hardest. But once you break that ice and you know now everybody thinks they can win. But when you finally win, now you know you can win. You know the feeling. You know you can do it. And I think you're going to have a handful of wins this year.
You could see Tim's confidence on the track just after that win. Like, he was running up front all the time after that win.
Well, thank you. You know what, though? Something I do, because I think about it a lot now. It's important to me. And I think about, we have Scott. We have Mikey. We have Shannon racing. We have Kenny Green racing. Mike Carpenter. Tom Rakowski's coming out.
Oh, yeah, there's 10 or 12 cars that can win any night.
So many good racers in there.
But I also want to give you some pointers, too. Like, if you race for points and you're racing for wins, don't let it take the fun out of it, though. I see some people start getting too serious, and they let everything bother them. Just go to win, go to race for points, but still have fun. I mean, you're definitely one of the guys I see smiling all the time.
Oh, I love it.
And I don't want to see that change.
I'm the happiest guy in the world there. Absolutely. Yeah. And I plan on that. That's what I plan. I do it for fun. Do I want to win? Yeah, of course I do. But
I think you've proven, too, like, there's been people that come and they go. Like, you proved that you had a lot of hard luck, and you came back, and like Scott said, you learned how to fix your own race car and stuff. You want to be there, and you've proven that, and you've gotten a lot better from me just sitting in the stands and watching you. I mean, at Turkey Derby, you had that race won. I know you spun out, but you were
twice. As Scott pointed out, twice.
You were driving away from them. You were doing good, and I'm happy to see you doing better, and you're taking all your hard luck with you're still smiling at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate. I'm kind of I know I'm racing with guys. I've been racing 10, 15, 20 years, and Scott, you've been racing
my whole life. Yeah, since I was 14 years old.
Yeah, so like when you ask about expectations, like who am I to say? I'm racing with guys that are race car drivers. I'm some dopey cop.
You're a race car driver too.
Sitting in a race car.
But, speaking of Tom, I think Tom's also going to have a good year.
Fast.
Tom was real fast at the year. He was one of the fastest cars every week. I was watching him in practice. I was watching his times. He's getting fast. He's getting better. I think Tom's going to be someone to deal with this year, too.
I agree.
Now, Tim, we just had Lee Allen on, who, of course, has a history of not only pavement, but also some dirt track racing experience. Is dirt track racing something that intrigues you? Is it something you've had an opportunity to do any of yet?
I can answer that for him. Every time I go dirt racing, he's always calling me and asking me, "What are you doing? How is it? How is it?" He's like, "I'm going to come watch you. I'm going to watch you." He's looking at the dirt side of things too.
Yeah, no, I've looked at. I've only been into Egypt once, and it was cool. I would like to try it. I like this for right now, but yes, the answer, it does look cool. I mean, I do enough sliding around on the asphalt, so I can't imagine what I would do.
Well, that's exactly what Lee was saying. He used to slide around on the asphalt so much. He said, "I better go dirt racing," and that's where he excels.
I'm always my whole first year, my car was so crazy loose all the time. I felt like I was on dirt.
And along those same lines, Tim, now we've all been talking about the affordability and the fun element of factory stock racing. But do you look ahead? Do you find yourself looking at what it may be like to race like a sportsman, or even a modified one day, or are you just happy where you are right now?
I love where I am right now. I absolutely. First of all, I like the look of the factory stocks. I like that it's a car. Like, to me, it looks like the old time NASCAR, which it is the old time NASCARs. We're watching them on the screen right now.
Yeah, right.
I think that's cool.
Like I always said, the factory stocks are cool because back in 1985, somebody bought that car in a car lot. That was their pride and joy.
Absolutely.
They took their kids to Florida in it, and now it's a race car. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it.
Now, Tim, we're getting set for the Daytona 500. I asked Lee Allen. I'll ask you as well. Do you have a favorite? Do you have any expectations for the day?
I mean, Truex, of course, just because he's kind of our guy. But I put $20 in a bucket, and I have the 12th starting position. So whoever that is, that's my guy right now too. It's a chance to win.
Where's our stat guy? Where's Sam?
Is that the way the pool works?
We got it. 12th is Kurt Busch. That's actually a very good pick.
Kurt Busch.
Who's starting 27th?
Who's starting 5th?
Jeez, guys. 5th is Ricky Stenhouse. So Josh, you're screwed. 27th is Landon Castle.
Oh, Jesus.
And I have 39th, which is Tyler Reddick, which actually
that might not be so
could
terrible.
be a good black horse. Yeah, I'm probably screwed too.
Now, Tim, another question we ask all our guests is, I don't know how. You mentioned you've been to New Egypt, of course. You've been to Wall Stadium. You haven't been to too many racetracks, but we do ask a question of track food. What has been your favorite track food so far, being at the racetracks?
You know what? I'm going to be boring because I kind of try to eat healthy a little bit. So all the girls, like when I go there, I'll get 2 grilled chicken breasts and a little bit of barbecue sauce, and I'm like the dull, boring guy.
That's fine.
Now, we already asked you if there's any other divisions you're looking to race. Is there any other track you might want to go try, or are you just...
Scott, to be honest with you, I really don't, like I said, I never even knew Wall existed, and it's 45 minutes away, so...
I'll have to give him that book, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Talk to Scott for half an hour.
And there's something going on in Florida today, right? Like
just to let you know, Wall Stadium isn't the only racetrack in the world. There's plenty of them out there.
Thankfully, there's plenty of them out there. I would actually recommend, if they do it again, it's enduro, which
that looks great.
You would love racing enduro. But at Evergreen,
I've seen that. That was awesome.
Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
It's kind of a taste of dirt racing without it being dirt racing.
I would love that.
It was a tremendous time, so I would highly recommend it if they do it again.
All right,
Scott, how about you? What would you recommend?
The dirt.
I shouldn't have asked.
What I've been doing. Yeah, I think he would. I think Big Diamond would be good for him because it's on a Friday.
Same car.
Well, no, there's a few little differences. I mean, I wouldn't bring your car because I know you're building it so nice, But no, we on the dirt we can run headers. We can run a little bit bigger cam. We can run a locked rear, limited slip posi rear. So there is some differences. Though
I have that now.
No. Exactly. Your car might be the same for dirt. I think Big Diamond will work for you because it's 5 Friday nights and it's in Pennsylvania, but you live in North Jersey anyway. You can simply jump on 78 and run out that way. But definitely concentrate on what you're doing for now, enduro racing is a lot of fun. Cool. And if you spin out, they don't throw the yellow. You can keep going, so you'll be in good shape.
Oh, I'll be great.
Eric Graham, do you have any track that you would
recommend?
I
put them in a cart.
You put him in a cart? Okay.
Put him in a cart at like GoPro or something.
Do you have something against his ribs?
Yeah, that's the problem.
You broke a rib, right?
Yeah, I have one that still moves around today.
Okay.
Flipping in a cart got me into a stock car.
I had a concussion last year when I hit the barrels. That time.
Were you supposed to talk about that?
Are you cleared to race next year?
We'll edit that out.
Talk about what?
now you also have a Corvette as a pleasure car. Do you do any racing with that, like any road course stuff or drag racing or anything like that, or is it just a Sunday driver? Or?
It's I do plenty of racing with it.
On the street.
Yeah, probably nothing I should really talk about. Yeah, I have a Z06. Love it.
What year is that?
I don't have one.
This one's a 19.
Yeah. Got a brand new one?
I love it, yeah. I just put a short throw shifter in it, and it looked so simple to do, and then I followed the instructions, and at one point I looked, and I'm like, holy cow, my whole interior's apart. It's a $100,000 car, and like, everything's apart.
Now does that avoid the warranty?
Yeah.
All right, with the Daytona 500 coming up, do you have any predictions? Who you think? Oh, you said Truex, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a prediction of how the race is going to be? Do you think it's going to be a single file race?
Man, I'll tell you what. I watched the one last night, and like everybody said, I'm hoping not because that was
boring, right?
Yeah, that was boring, man. I was all set. I just had knee surgery 2 weeks ago, so I'm home. It's like a big day for me getting out. So I'm watching a lot of television, and I was all ready for this race, and man, it was dull. It was boring. Nothing going on.
Well, at least you got the knee surgery during the off season.
Well, that's kind of why I did it, to be honest with you. I should be all
That's
healed.
a true racer. My stomach operation, I scheduled for February too. This way I'd be healed up and ready to go.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I did it. It's been 2 weeks now, so you're all healed up for racing.
What stage is your car in now? Is it race ready now, or does it still need some work done to it?
The body was just hung right now. It's not fully set to go, but the car, it's all set up. We kind of redid the interior a little bit, made it a little pretty, some creature comforts to it, and the body's just hung on it now. So we got to finish that up and get some paint on it, make it pretty, and let's go.
That's about whatever stage everybody's at right now. Everybody's just getting the bodies on it. Poor Timmy Steffens going to be crazy busy soon to paint these cars.
How about you? You have 2 cars to get ready, right?
Yeah, my car is in the stage where I just got the body on it. I just got to put the front bumper on it, the nose piece on it, and then I'm going to go talk to Timmy and get something scheduled. And then I got to start on Nancy. So I'm getting my car done by the end of February. This way I'm completely done with that, and then I have a whole month of March to finish Nancy's. All the work's done on her car. The body's cut off it. I just got to put a body on it. But I don't buy new body panels like most people are doing now. I've been stripping other cars.
I saw that.
And
Yeah,
cleaning the panels. So that takes a little bit more time, but it's more cost effective for me. It's a little cheaper that way. But it does take me a little longer to hang a body because I spend most of the time cutting the bodies off other cars and cleaning them and gutting them and then installing them on her car.
Same color, same paint scheme, everything?
We're not sure on that yet. We're still thinking about that. She changes her mind every 10 minutes.
Shocker, really?
Yeah, mine's either going to be black or blue. So mine would be the same. I just don't know if it's going to be more black or more blue, you know. She's talking about going a whole different route with a different color. So we'll see.
He's over there.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little sidebar with Tim. It's with the other Tim. I have 2 Erics and 2 Tims. This is really confusing. I apologize.
Anyway. Well, we're about a half hour away from kicking things off with the green flag of the Daytona 500. With that, Tim, we're going to let you go. Go back to enjoying some drinks and food with your family. Tim, spectacular job last season. Best of luck in 2019. And thank you for everything you do both on and off the track.
Thank you very much. You guys are great.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, man.
Again, that's Tim Mayjack, driver number 74 factory stock at Wall Stadium Speedway, racing police officer, also works at the construction field if you want to remodel your home. And if you have a cat stuck in the tree, he's the guy to call.
Not the fire department, huh?
I'd probably rather Tim. Before we move on, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Yesterday would have been Big George Norcross's birthday. Sadly, we lost George just a few weeks back unexpectedly. We know that they had a vigil courtesy of Steve Eccles, who put a lot of that together at the Speedway yesterday in his honor. We know that the Lynn family is at River Rock, going to be watching the 500, and we want them to know that we love them, we're thinking about them, and we all miss Big George dearly after he kept all of us safe on a weekly basis. Also, Sheila Marr, who is the mother of Rich Marr, the assistant flagger at Wall Stadium Speedway, along with his younger brother Ryan Marr. She also lost a valiant fight with cancer about a month ago. Rich is having an event at his local fire shop this weekend for the 500, so he's not in attendance, but we do love you, Rich. We love the entire Marr family. I know Scott's there with Chris today. We want them to know that we're thinking about them as well. And what was a tough offseason for some of our racing family as we continue to look forward now and prepare about 25 minutes time for the green flag of the Daytona 500.
We're looking to have another
Eric,
guest
Josh,
in just a minute.
Yeah, Scott wants to go grab another guest.
I just wanted to mention while you're people that we lost, it came out that Joe Brady's wife, Linda, died. She was huge in the modified tour division. She's going to be missed by a lot of people. I got to know her when John drove for Joe Brady, and it sucks that she died. She really hasn't been the same since we lost Joe, and I'm just glad that they're back together again, wherever they are.
All right.
Yeah, and also, it came out yesterday that racing artist Sam Bass passed away at the age of 57, and he was somebody who designed a lot of program covers for a lot of the racetracks that you would travel to, a lot of paint schemes and race cars, and just all-around good guy, it seemed. So, with that, they say the best medicine is to continue on and go racing. For those of you who may just be filing into the River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar, I'm Eric Brennan. We got a list of people who are regulars on the show, including that of local drivers Josh Matthews, Scott Riggleman, Tim Riggleman, who's a spotter. He's got his younger daughter Bailey Riggleman, who's a young racer herself, and of course Eric Graham, who's back with us as a local official at Wall Stadium Speedway. A lot of local flair that you will see in the 61st running of the 500, including New Jersey's own Martin Truex Jr., who hails from Miami, New Jersey, who will be starting with a new team in the 11th position. We'll also talk about Bubba Wallace briefly. also known as Darrell Wallace Jr., who will be starting 13th. His spotter, Freddie Kraft, friend of all of ours, and also a Long Island, New York native, so we'll count that as a local fare for you. Ryan Blaney, whose right front tire changer is, of course, Ryan Flores, also a New Jersey native, also a New Jersey England champion. And Ryan Preece, who won Turkey Derby 3 years back from the New England area. He will be rolling off in 21st. With that, there are race pools and raffles that are being handed out all throughout the restaurant and bar area. You want to make sure that you are in it to win it. The race pools, you pick a number for whatever price they've set it at. Whatever number you get, whatever driver is in that starting position is the driver that you have. I know last year we did payouts for the stage breaks as well as the final event or the finish of the race itself. Have to get a little bit of clarification, see if we are doing the same, in fact, for this year. And we cannot thank Jeff and Eric Lane enough for making this all possible. They built a relationship with River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar about a year ago, perhaps 2. My memory's fading the older I get. And ever since, they've been able to grow this event into what it is today, allowing us the opportunity to prepare you for the race itself. And it sounds like that they are planning to do this once again for the next plate race that takes place. And that will, of course, be the Geico 500 at Talladega Superspeedway on Sunday, April 28th. For more information, you can post it to the RPM Podcast Facebook page, or you can check out River Rock as they promote their weekly events on their social media accounts as well. I think I'm good with the housekeeping, gentlemen, as we've got about 20 minutes before we go green flag racing. Let's talk about yesterday's Xfinity Series race. Michael Annett got his first ever race win on the Xfinity side yesterday. Want to be in the right place, right time. Had his teammate on his back bumper, and Justin Allgaier wasn't able to make enough of a pass. And the upset story was Ryan Sieg, who got a top 5 finish, driving for the family-owned team. But the fear is that single-file Congo line of racing is what we may see today. And Eric Graham, you mentioned earlier, you're afraid that's what we're going to have for the 500 as well. Yeah,
I mean, at least for 475 miles. I mean, the cars, they've shown the cars can pass. Like, you can make a low line and pass. They just choose not to do it. So, I mean, it's not even necessarily the package that's a problem. It's just the racers learn, hey, we'll just wait till the end. There's no point in racing otherwise.
Well, you got to preserve your cars. I mean, we've seen that in modified races and everywhere else.
But modified races aren't 3.5 hours long.
No, but again, this is more time you have to preserve your car. We talked about surviving to be able to finish up front. So, I mean, if they get in line, and it's not a great fan racing product.
But that's part of why the Truck Series race is usually more exciting, so it's shorter.
So, yes, I agree. Well, that's what
I'm not saying you should shorten a Daytona 500, but they should take a cue from IndyCar where, even if you split the weekend up, you have a Saturday race and a Sunday race, and you run the Truck Series Saturday with them and you run the Xfinity Series Sunday with them,
Yes. Well, I think that's what we like about the stages is that you by shortening it up, you should get more action. So I think that last stage was a bit... I'll be honest. I fell asleep during the last stage and woke up with about 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I know we don't have a lot of NBA fans here, but if you ever watch a basketball game, that's basically what NASCAR's turned into. You just wait till the end and something will happen. Because cars are so reliable now, they're pretty much bulletproof. Cars don't break down. At least you'd have something like that. And then you had a big speed differential, so at least the leaders had to work around the lap cars like Scott has to do. Like Scott had to do with Josh and I back in the day.
It makes it fun, though. I love lap cars. They're my favorite thing of racing.
Great. I'm a lap car. Which is true, but...
And that's one item that Chase Elliott has pretty much been very vocal about, is trying to make passes in the duels. And then again, yesterday's Xfinity race, he was actually heard saying on the radio, I don't know what the infatuation is with this highline thing. He said, did the cars change or anything? And his crew responded, no, it's just the drivers seem to be electing to ride around. And so unless you get enough of them that are bold enough to try to make a move or make that low line start moving forward, that may be what we see throughout most of today's race, and hopefully we're wrong. But
they were saying a little bit in practice that they use the wall to use the air to suck the cars so they can go a little bit faster. That's kind of the new thinking, is that they actually use the wall for aerodynamics now too. And Scott's fishing for guests, and I think he's caught one. So.
Yes, and we have a guest. Eric, we got Darren Burdge sitting down with us now. Darren's racing pretty much been racing forever, just like I have over at Wall Stadium. Race street stocks, factory stocks. Primarily now with the 4-cylinder division, and he's actually building a pretty cool car this year. He's doing something a little bit different. He's going with a rear-wheel drive car. other than a front-wheel drive car. Welcome to the show, Darren.
Is that going to be a Nissan 240SX?
Ford Mustang.
Oh, okay. There's only a couple rear-wheel drive, so I figured I'd take a shot.
We're gonna try the Ford out.
All right. Hey, worth a shot, right?
Rear-wheel drive.
Have you ever driven a rear-wheel drive car over there in the four-cylinder division? What was the idea and the thinking behind changing and going with a rear-wheel drive car other than a front-wheel drive car that most people use?
I did take one out for practice, rear-wheel drive. I think it should be good. The front-wheel drive is so hard to any adjustments or whole different car to get around there.
Is there any advantages of it or disadvantages of it, the way the rules are written?
No, not that I could, see in the rules.
Like they don't make you add weight or anything like that? No,
not at all.
Sorry.
Eric, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got myself in that.
We're all distracted right now. Was Haley getting out of the shower again?
No, not again. No, just putting food away. So, which is equally as appetizing, depending on the mood that I'm in. So now, with, Darren, you've been part of the. I want to say the revival of four-cylinder racing at Walk, but it was prominent when the Enduro Series had their tour going in the early 2010-ish era. And then once it became a staple on the Wall Stadium Speedway schedule, you and your guys kind of went in, full song. And then you built that Russ Cook tribute car with D&D Motorsports, and that's where you had a lot of your success. But that's not where you began racing. How did your racing career, specifically at Wall Stadium Speedway, kick off? And what brought you back in the four-cylinder ranks?
I grew up with around Jamie when we were kids, and when he built his first car, I was probably 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and I, always went to all the dirt shows and up and down the East Coast and followed Jamie for years and helped him on the tour a little bit, and then got married, had a couple kids, and got away from it a little bit. But when they came up with the four-cylinder division, I decided maybe it's time to go back for a couple more races.
And then that couple more races kind of turned into some full-time campaigns, very close to a track championship.
Yeah.
And now, as we mentioned, and Scott kind of broke some news to me, even though I'm not around, I still keep tabs on what's going on at Wall Stadium on a weekly basis. And a rear-wheel drive car that works for you is the plan to try to chase a track championship?
I'll be there every week. I'm going to go out and try to win every week, and the points come with it. So we'll see what happens.
Now, Darren, I stopped by your shop over at Billy Cole's over at B&R Fabrication, where you guys do work on many, many race cars over there. And your car was pretty bare bones. It was pretty much a bare chassis. What are your chances of making opening night or not making opening night?
I'll be there. I'll be there. It's we're getting there with it. Billy's busy over there at B&R, and nighttime is really the only time I get to really work on it, but it's getting there.
With the four-cylinder Ford motor, what are you doing for an engine with that?
I got Pete Morgantini's putting me together a four-cylinder motor.
Now, did the Mustangs only come with one type of four-cylinder engine, or was there a couple to choose from?
Well, I have to run what came in that car for that year.
Yeah.
The 2.3.
The 2.3.
Yeah.
Which is a good Ford motor, right?
Yeah, they say it's a good motor.
Okay.
You can't do much to them, so the handling is going to be more important than the motor.
Now that'll be carbureted, right? Or
carbureted,
right? And they want a 2300 Holly on those.
I'll have a 350 Holly on there.
Yeah. That's a 2300. Yeah. So that's even different too, because a lot of the four cylinders are fuel injection, and you'll have a carburetor. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they got computers, and they're all fuel injected, and I'll be the only guy out there with a carburetor.
And a fuel pump, right?
And a fuel pump. A real fuel pump.
Yeah. No electric fuel pump. Wow, yeah. I just came across my mind that it's not a fuel injected car, and it's going to be a carburetor car. So there'd be something easier to work on at the track if you do have a problem. It's more mechanical than computerized.
Your computer goes at the track on the front-wheel drive cars, and you're more or less done for the night.
Now, we're all here to watch the Daytona 500, and we've been asking our guest, who's your pick for the 500, and who do you think is going to win it?
I'd like to see Martin do good in it. Ryan Preece finish up front. get some laps. But Ryan showed some good driving the other night, finishing 10th. But a lot of young guys in there. I like to see Martin run in the front.
Yeah, I know. I used to go to New Smyrna a lot, and I ran into you at New Smyrna a few times. Have you ever been to the 500 in person?
I always left and got home and watched.
Yeah, everybody from New Jersey does that.
Yeah,
I would drive home Saturday, listen to the Xfinity race on the radio, and be home in time for the 500. Everybody leaves and comes home to watch the 500. With New Smyrna, have you ever bought a race car down there?
No. 1 year, Rich Monjo, he drove my car down there.
Yeah, he took the Camaro down there, right?
And they had a lot more they could do than what we had. But he ended up third in the points, the overall. So it was, it was good.
All right. Sorry, I was sending Eric a message.
Darren, we had the last couple of guests that we had on were, essentially 8-cylinder or factory stock races, if you will, and there seems to be a lot of optimism about the state of factory stock or 8-cylinder racing as a whole. If you could, what is your view of the state of the sport for the 4-cylinder division? Again, became a regular season staple at Wall Stadium about 2012, 2013. We have our reigning champion, Brian Osborne, moving up to the factory stock ranks for 2019. As you look at the 4-cylinder ranks as a whole, what do you think the state of the sport is? Is it very healthy? Is it heading in the right direction? Are there some things you'd like to see change? What's your opinion on it?
It's really getting big, across the United States. Dirt, asphalt.
Because the cars are more available than what we race in the 8-cylinder division. I mean, it is becoming the new affordable series, like Darren said, not only in New Jersey, but across the country.
They run Bristol.
They run Bristol. And I even look into them a little bit, too. Their series out west, they race for big money, too. They got some, like, $10,000 paying races, It's just what the kids know now. Like I grew up working on muscle cars like Chevelles and Novas and Malibus and stuff. These kids now are working on front-wheel drive stuff with computers in it, you know what I'm saying? So it's just what the kids are messing with now, and that's why I think the division's taken off. There was a couple rumors over the winter about tires in the 4-cylinder division. Have you heard anything more about them switching to Hoosiers, or are they staying on the DOT tire?
They're going to stay with the tire rule they had from last year.
Well, that's great, because that a lot of people don't know it, but with the 4-cylinder divisions, because the gears are hard to change in them, you would actually have to change transmissions. The way people gear their cars is by different size tires. They'll use a smaller tire or a bigger tire, and if they were going to a track tire like the factory stocks did, it would eliminate some of the guys with the style cars they have because they wouldn't be able to get the right gear ratio. So you happy they're staying with the DOTs, or were you hoping for the Hoosier?
To me, I think they're better off staying where they're at right now. It didn't really matter to me because
you can change gears.
I can change.
You would have been on the good side of the tire rule because you can change the gears in the Ford.
As far as the money for these guys that to throw away what they had from Turkey Derby and last season, I think they did the right thing in staying with the tire from last season.
Plus, when I raced on the DOT tires in the factory stocks, the more you raced the tire, the better it got. So the older the tire you had, the better off it was. So it saved you money. Was it the same way with the 4-cylinders where you weren't using a lot of tires, or were they still using tires up in the DOT tires?
I think it's like anything else. If your car is halfway decent, you're not going to wear them out as quick. I can probably get away with 8 tires, six or 8 tires for the whole year.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, we can't have a lot of stagger in the car, so I can take my right rear, break it in, and put it to the right front, and then the right front goes to the right rear. It's just the heat cycles that kills that right front on that front-wheel drive.
Now, how's that going to work with that car having a rear end, where in our division we have to run an open rear? Is yours going to have to be open, or are you going to be a lot of posi? Or is that a secret?
Well, no, my car did come with a
posi.
Limited slip posi.
Limited slip.
But I'm going to have to take it out.
So you got to run an open rear?
Open rear.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's no difference in the Monte Carlos racing in the factory because the Monte Carlo SS, they come with a limited slip posi, and we got to run an open rear. I was just wondering what they were doing for you with that rear end, Another question we always ask people is, you've been to a lot of racetracks. You're like me. You've been to dirt, asphalt, big tracks, short tracks, drag strips. We always ask a question about track food. Which is your favorite track food, and what track was it at?
Maybe East Windsor, I would have to say.
Yeah, everybody loves it. People that were at East Windsor. East Windsor is one of those tracks where you wouldn't eat until you got to the track. A lot of tracks you go to, you stop, eat, then you go to the racetrack. East Windsor's like you would go there early and you would eat.
You waited for the food there.
I mean, they had great cheeseburgers there and everything else. Well, Darren, we really appreciate you stopping by, and we wish you a lot of luck. There's been a lot of hype about your car, a lot of people talking about it. I'm really looking forward. I've seen.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. And that's one cool thing about the four-cylinder divisions. There is all different. There's all different type cars out there, where the factory stocks is getting to be like they're all the same, but the four-cylinder's all different. And you're going to stand out there. And, I think there's one or two other Mustangs that show up every once in a while, but it's going to be cool to watch your car race against the front-wheel drive cars.
Well, you can see Darren and all the other races at Wall-Speedway Speedway on April 13th when the season will open. For more information, visit wallspeedwayracing.com. Darren, thanks for taking the time out with us. Hopefully I'll see you in a couple of months' time, and best of luck in 2019.
Okay, hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Once again, that's Darren Burdge, a accomplished racer in the four-cylinder ranks at Wall Stadium Speedway, debuting a new type of car that we will see in competition. Again, opening night, April 13th. 2019. For more information, again, just visit wallspeedwayracing.com.
And our next guest is putting their headset on. Well, they're going to. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to aim the camera.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
Well, this has been a long time coming.
Can you see me, boy?
We've been after this guest for a long time. We've actually had him booked a couple of times and it didn't happen. So we finally got him on here.
Can we
got
blame
Jimmy
Tim for
Blewett.
that?
We got Jimmy Blewett sitting with us today on the RPM podcast. It finally happened.
Multi-time champion at Wall Stadium Speedway, reigning champion in the modified ranks, Turkey Derby champion in both the Tour type and Wall type ranks, Tour modified winner on the national side, and fresh off of a strong week in the Bertuccio Racing number 2 car down at Speed Weeks, New Smyrna Speedway. We're, of course, talking about Jimmy Blewett. Jimmy, I miss you, man. I miss hanging out with you. I miss talking to you. It's a pleasure to be able to catch up with you before the 500.
Yeah, we miss you too, man. You were definitely a huge help down here in promoting our racing on every, the local level every Saturday night. And to not see you at this year's Turkey Derby, it hurt. But glad you're doing well. Proud of you and your accomplishments, and moving up a little bit here. And hopefully in the near future we see you maybe on TV.
I thought you were talking about Haley.
I appreciate it, Jimmy. I'll be back soon. I certainly promise. Well, let's talk about everything you had going on. Most recently, as just a couple nights ago, runner-up finish to Hirschman in the 100 lap down at New Smyrna. Also strong runs all throughout the week. How did that deal with the Bertuccio family come about? We've seen you at Speed Weeks before, but the first time we've seen you in that Bertuccio number 2. How did that all come together?
Well, me and Joe have been friends for a long time, and every time I go to the races, I stop by, talk to him, see what's happening, see how the family is, see how JR's doing, just talk about scrap, talk about this, that, and the other thing. So last year, on and off, just shooting a breeze, and seen at the end of the season, Ronnie Williams wasn't driving the car, and they came to this year's Turkey Derby, and they had Tommy Barrett in the car, and I was told it was only for one race, so that kind of sparked my attention, towards Speed Weeks. I love to race. I want to race as much as possible. The more you race, the sharper you stay. Especially now with these younger guys coming up. You got guys like, Eric Moriello over at Wall. They run good. Week in and week out. You got to stay on your toes, stay sharp if you want to run with them. Because they're hungry. They're trying to do the best they can. Make a name for themselves. So. I said to Joe, what's going on for Speed Weeks? Got anything planned? And he said to me, no. As of right now, I don't. But I'll keep you in mind. Keep your phone on. So with that said, I was sitting in the tire area, grinding tires for Ryan Flores at Allentown. And my phone rang. And he said, hey, what's happening? It's Joe. You want to run Speed Weeks? And I said, absolutely. And with that said, we went up there, threw a few seats in the cars, and went down there and had a blast.
Now, Jimmy, you did run very well down there, and that car in general, they go to every Speed Weeks. I mean, they've been down there year after year after year, and they run very well down there. What kind of cars do they have? They have Troyers and.
Huge, long-time supporter of the Troyer camp. They are, and we went down there with a TA1 conventional car, and the thing was bad fast. My crew chief Stas Belova and Mike Bologna and all the guys on the crew, they worked hard all week long. All week long. I had Adam Cicero, Christian, his brother down there giving me a hand. Ray Fataruso, even Kyle Sisko went down there with us. Just wanting to learn. To see what it's like to run different levels and see if you could pick anything up to help them on a regular Saturday night. So we had a really good group of guys, and with that, you can accomplish anything if you go to the racetrack and you have a crew chief like Stosh, and you have a group of guys that's surrounding you that believes in you as a driver. I think the sky's the limit, and that's how I felt that whole week. I didn't care that we lost a few races or we didn't run up to par a few nights, but I knew in my heart that I could win every time I sat in the seat of that race car, and they believed that I could win. And when you have that chemistry as a team, you can do really big things. And I'm just really looking forward to this season. I talked to Joe last night, and we're looking at moving forward. We just got to iron a few things out, but. I really think this could be a huge thing for myself and for his team, and just really looking forward to doing some racing.
That kind of answers our next question, Jimmy. We're going to ask what you got planned for 2019. Sounds like nothing official yet, but it sounds like there may be an opportunity at more tour races with the Bertuccio team.
Yeah, my main goal this year was to get back dirt racing, to keep my car control up. I loved racing dirt. It was a huge challenge for me. I went back to wall the last 2 seasons. My crew guys, Kenny Hunt, Charlie, they went with me when I went dirt racing, and a lot of them were leaning towards going back to wall, not cleaning the car so much, not doing the 5 times the amount of work after racing on a Saturday night, and along with a few sponsors, said, man, we'd really like to have you back at wall. I'm my wife. It's easier for my wife to just pull out of the driveway and drive 2 minutes down the road to the racetrack, especially with the kids being young. But we went over there. We proved that we're still contenders. We won a championship twice, won a good amount of races, and I had a total blast. Andrew and his mom do a great job over there, with the racetrack, especially without Cliff. I know it's hard for them, but they're keeping their best foot forward and pushing along and doing everything they can to keep the track open in memory of him and for us racers. So it's tough to not go back there and race full time this year. I'll be honest with you. I really enjoy it. Not so much the winning part, so much the challenge and having the younger drivers come up to you and ask you for advice and stuff like that. Those are the things I'll miss weekly, and the fans. I built up a pretty strong fan base there. For me to get most popular driver the year before was a shock to me. The last time I got that was probably 2001. And you're looking at nearly 20 years later, and you're getting it again, and you're still winning races. So I just feel fortunate enough to still be able to do it and have the opportunities that have been coming my way. So we're looking forward to doing some dirt racing with my grandfather and my family over at New Egypt and Bridgeport, and maybe even Grandview or Big Diamond, wherever we can go. If there's an open race and Grandpa says, hey, let's just get in the truck and go, I'll just get in the truck and go. I ain't scared to go race anywhere. I'd love to race anybody at any time, anywhere. So and when we could fill some races in at Wall Stadium, we'll be there. We're not totally not going to be there, but we're going to focus more on tour racing than racing dirt.
The only thing that disappoints me about you not being at Wall Stadium every week is, other than the fact I enjoy you watching you race at Wall Stadium, you put on one heck of a show there. But man, you're closing in on Gil Hearn's 100 career win record, and I think if you ran there full time a couple more years, you could achieve that. Is that something you look at and you'd like to take over that win record?
I look at it now and say,
what if?
I definitely like to beat his all-time win list, especially now that he doesn't like me. I definitely like to surpass that, just to say I did it. But, it would be a huge accomplishment. He had a great run, Gil Hearn. He was one hell of a driver, and his stats prove it. But, I look at the years I wasn't at Wall Stadium and say the what if. You know, I only raced 5 full seasons at Wall Stadium my whole career. He raced there his whole entire life. So I'd like to put my stats up against his stats in a different way and see who's got more. And I think if that was the case, he wouldn't even be close. So, you know, hopefully the track stays open longer. And if it does, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. You know, I'd love to close in on him and see what I can do. I mean, just to be up there with the best of that speedway is an honor to me. You know, you're surrounded by a lot of great drivers, legends in the sport, especially locally. You know, Gil himself, Charlie Kremer, Tony Siscone. You know, the list goes on. You know, so just to be in that company up there means a lot to me, especially growing up at Wall Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% correct, man. I watched you climb up that wins total record, and some of the names you passed, I mean, even your brother, I mean, the names you pass on that list is incredible. You know, I watched you pass your father, I watched you pass Tom Mauser, I watched you pass Harry Reid, I watched you pass John Blewett III. You know, you're beating them all, and like you said, on a limited races there, you don't have that many number of races there to, you know, your win record's awesome there. You know,
it's you know, I started, you know how I started with just wanting to win one race just to prove a point to my father that I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and here I am. You know, Steve Barrett gave me at the Turkey Derby my yearly win list of where I'm at. And I got 147 wins in my career. I never thought I would get one, you know, so.
But it's across all divisions, too. I mean,
and track surfaces, asphalt and dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a race car driver, I mean, Scott's won on asphalt and dirt. If you're a race car driver and in your heart you think you can drive anything and you know you can drive anything, you'll drive anything. I don't think for 1 minute a guy like Ryan Preece, Keith Rocco, you know, kids like Ronnie Williams, Doug Coby, any of them guys. I mean, Anthony Nacella was just down there racing speed weeks with me. I didn't really know much of the kid's past, but I know that kid's one hell of a driver, and I was watching his car control, and I was down there, and I said, man, this kid's run something besides a modified, because this kid's got some serious car control.
Right.
And, you know, I was out there hanging on, and he was hanging on too, but we were going forward, and I'm like, let me talk to this kid, you know, and I went over there and I started talking to him and his guys, and sure, lo and behold, the kid, you know, raced at the Chili Bowl. He raced dirt stuff. You know, and there's a lot to be said with running dirt and asphalt. It really, really makes you a better driver. I mean, Eric Moriello, he came from dirt racing. You know, he went from racing his quarter midget with his father growing up at Little Wall, and then moving up the ranks and running the 600 micro sprints, and it made him better. You know, I mean, he's gonna be the guy to beat there. I don't care what anybody says. If I'm not there, you better pack your lunch and you better work your ass off during the week and not sit around. Because if you sit around, he's just going to blow you away every single Saturday night. Wow. And I'm excited to watch it. You know, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Eric. Even though I race him, I wouldn't have put him in my car, me and Rob Ormsby, if we didn't really love the kid. You know, and he's a good kid. He's very respectful, and he's got a great career ahead of him. It's just it's unfortunate that he doesn't get a chance to get to that next level, because I really think he's one of them guys that's just diamond in the rough. You know, you take him and you put him in the right seat, even if on a tour anywhere, and he can win races. You know, he's not afraid of anything, and he'll drive whatever you give him. You know, I set his car up multiple ways, and he still went out there and went just as fast. You know, and
he adapts to the car.
Yeah, and it reminds me a lot of myself. I mean, Scott knows I come there week in and week out. You know, I won, I don't know, whatever I won over there this year. I mean, I cannot sit here and say I went there the same way more than twice. You know, I different springs, different shocks, different everything. But
I mean, I pit right next to Jimmy in the pits. Our pits are right next to each other, and I watched Jimmy rip 4 springs and shocks off that car without even thinking about it. You know, and
right before the feature.
Right before the feature.
It's something you got to do. I mean, and now they're applying that VHT to the track, and it throws a whole nother level to it. It makes it sort of like dirt track racing. You know, you get there and you unload your car, and you go out for practice, and you're like, oh yeah, that thing's great. Sometimes I don't. Most of the time I don't even go out for practice. I really just don't even do it. Go out for the heat race. Unless we're not going to have a heat, then I'll run one round of practice, because you get a false sense of security on what your car's really doing. Because as soon as that stuff adheres to the track, it's a whole nother surface. So you kind of almost have to have 2 setups between the day and the night. And that's with any racetrack, but more so there now that they're applying that to the surface to try to make better racing for the fans.
Right.
Are you a fan of the VHT, or do you wish they wouldn't use it?
I feel it's a crutch. You know, racing. If you got rid of the internet and the people that cry all the time, racing would be great. You know, racing's good, but it'd be that much better. You know, you have the wallboard, who all these people like to go on there and just bash people and their families and have zero clue on what they're even talking about.
Right.
They sit in the okay, because you sit in the grandstands and you don't like me because I work hard on my car all week and go out there and whoop your ass. Too bad. Too bad. Yeah. Why don't you get off your computer and go over to the guy's shop that you love so much and help him get his car going faster? Don't frown on me because I'm out there working on my shit. Right. You know? So it's a tough deal, you know, but if you didn't have that on the racetrack, I feel it would be better racing. They put it on there for the guys that can't get their car to handle. You know, work on your car more. You know, back in the 70s, 80s, even early 90s, you know, if you went to the racetrack, Dick Barney went to the racetrack, or Gil Hearn, or Tom Mauser, or Charlie Kremer, especially Charlie Kremer, that guy is probably one of the most knowledgeable driver racers that I've ever talked to in my entire life. That guy knows more than most people forgot in auto racing, okay? But if they lost a race on Saturday night, they didn't go home and get on the wallboard. They didn't go home and get on Facebook and bash the other drivers. They went home and they went to work, okay? And that's what this sport's lacking anymore. A lot of people don't go home and work on their shit during the week. Right. They go home and they're worried about, we're going to go to Monday Night Football, and we're going to go over here. We're going to go to true racers, go home, and they work on their race car.
Half these guys don't even work on their own race car. They pay Billy Cole to work on them.
Yeah, they pay Billy Cole or they pay me or Rob Hornsby to work on a race car, and it's a majority of the kids out there. And it's not to take anything away from them. They're great kids. Some of them are in college. Some of them are trying to get a better education. So they're trying to figure out how they can do that and race at the same time. I get it. But when you have any free time, if you're a real racer and you want to be that much better, you better get to work.
And Jimmy, that kind of leads to my next point. Obviously, you're very competitive, very passionate about what you do. But at the same time, you talk about Eric Moriello. You guys virtually took him under your wing a couple years ago as your teammate with the Ormsby team. And also, Sunday series, you're there constantly. Even on Saturdays, when you got some free time, you're willing, ready, and able to talk to any young driver that is willing to approach you and ask for bits of advice. Why is it so important to you to help build the future racers and the stars of tomorrow? Why are you so passionate about being able to help the drivers who are coming up through the ranks, even though they may, in fact, be competing against you someday?
It's just something my brother taught me, you know. You see somebody that needs help, you help them. You know, you don't stand there and watch them struggle. You go over there and give them a hand. Even if they do beat you, they put their shoes on the same way you do every single day, one at a time. You know, you'd rather go out there and race somebody, you know, even if they have the same car and the same setup you do, you'd rather just beat them as a driver, you know. And, you know, I took Eric under my wing just because he was such a good kid. And, you know, he might use some of the things I told him to beat me out there in the racetrack, but so be it. I mean, you'll never get anywhere without any help. You know, it's hard to learn everything on your own. You need to take what guys like Billy Cole are teaching you, guys like Robert teaching you, myself, Scott, anybody. You know, there's no advice that's bad advice. You know, and Eric picks up on things real quick. You know, there's a few times I was out there, he was running my own car. I said, hey, this kid's going to beat me in my own car, but hey, it'll be really cool. You know, I felt, and I still feel to this day, if I didn't put him in my car, he wouldn't be racing right now. He'd be sitting on a couch. You know, and it's sad to see a kid with the level of talent that he has sitting around, not out there racing. You know, so like I said, when I'm away racing my dirt car or I'm running on the modified tour or wherever I'm at, it's nice to be able to sit back and watch the computer or my laps and say, hey, look, there's that kid whooping their ass. I like it. So,
Jimmy, just a quick question about chassis, because the modified chassis, there's a big competition now with LFR and Chassis Dynamics and Troyer. Troyer came out with the TA3, which is a coil bind car. How do you feel about the coil bind car? Are you staying away from that?
I feel there's something to be said about it, you know, but there's a lot of work to be done to get it to where it needs to be. You know, right out of the box is going to be 100%. Nothing's really 100% right out of the box. But you got guys like Matt Hertzman that just throw 4 Pro Shocks on your car weekly and go out there And another case where you better pack that lunch cooler. Maybe a spare truck and trailer if you plan on beating him, because he just runs standard stuff and he goes there and puts it on you every week. We went down there to Speed Weeks this week, which is the TA1 standard setup in the car, and the thing was phenomenal all week long. With the right guy dialing it in. My buddy Stosh just was on it.
Now Kobe had the TA3 with the coil bind down there. Kobe?
No, Kobe had his LFR car, which is fast. I mean, he has Phil Moran in his corner.
Yeah.
There isn't nothing that Phil and Doug have not accomplished. This guy's a 5-time champion and everything. So,
Was there anybody down there with a coil bind car?
You can't coil bind at New Smyrna, which is good, because that evens out the playing field. We don't need to be out there coil binding in the modified series at all. All that does is just bring more expense to the teams, with buying crazy shocks and just have to do things that the normal guy can't do when they're trying to work a normal job and still go racing. So I think that's something that NASCAR needs to address, and needs to address it soon before people have to go out and really spend a lot of money just to try to stay competitive. But I don't feel it's what you need to win. Matt Hirschman has proven it time and time again. I've proven it myself. It's just it's a touchy subject, but I feel the tried and true Troyer car and tried and true LFR car, and even the Chassis Dynamics car, which Ryan Priest was down there with an experimental car this week, and I think was bad fast. I mean, any race car can go fast. I went out this year and I bought a Spafco car, and I went over the wall and I won 9 races with it. People said to me, "Oh, that thing will never work there." Why? Oh, because it'll never work. That's not an answer for me. I do not want to hear that something will not work. And if you tell me it will not work, I'll make it work. So
I like that.
You got to go out there. Sometimes you got to think outside the box, try something different. At the end of the year, I got rid of the car, sold it to Chris Andretta right off the racetrack the way I raced it. And I had my backup Troyer car sitting there. We went home, put it together, went out, and set fast time for the Derby. So you can make anyone go. I'm sure if you gave the top 5 drivers on the tour or RC Tour or wherever a different car, they'd go out and be just as competitive. It might take them a week or 2 to get the thing figured out, but once they get it locked in, they'd be running up front.
And now, New Smyrna also, there was different rules for engines with different carburetors, steel head motor, aluminum head motor, spec motor. Well, what package did you have down there?
I went NASCAR legal. I wanted to support the NASCAR Rail and Modified Tour and support their rules package and what they push weekly for our racing. So I went there NASCAR legal. And,
with the spec engine?
With the spec engine.
With the 830 carburetor?
Yep. And car ran great. I don't think there was any difference in the engine programs the way Ricky Brooks fixed the rule package. He fixed the rule package to where it's competitive for all. And Speed Weeks is getting bigger and better every year.
Oh my God,
there's more and
awesome.
more cars.
It's
and,
awesome.
And it's when you have different drivers there, because I know I'm one of them guys, and I guarantee it. There's some drivers that are sitting home and they go, "Oh, he can go there and run second. We're going to load up and go there next year." Good, come on down. Let's go. Bring it. Come on down to Smyrna. Let's go. And it's getting better and better every year. It was nice to see Doug Kobe down there this year, and nice to see Ryan still able to support where he came from at the level he is now. I mean, see this kid starting a Daytona 500 that you were just talking to 2 days ago. Racing with his friends, laying on the dirt.
Racing with his friends out of an old cube van that his grandfather used to own.
Yeah. I mean, it's there with his grandfather's hauler. The kid didn't forget where he came from. Neither did guys like Martin Truex, or Joey Logano. You see him on the big stage, and you're like, wow, look at that guy. But at the end of the day, they're just normal people, and the majority of them are. It's just harder for them to get out and socialize with people like us, because they can't enjoy themselves when everybody wants an autograph or wants to give them a hug or shake their hand. They just want to sit down, hang out, and have a beer and shoot the shit.
Well, now that you probably would have won the points except for that one night. What broke a brake line?
Just broke a brake line going into 3 on the initial green. I don't know if something came off the track and hit it or what case might be, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. We went down there, and my goal going down there was to put the car up front and build some team morale and get to know the team and the crew chief, and we did everything. We ran good. We had a great time. We built a small setup book, and we ran good. So I'm really happy, and everybody and that went down there. Everybody did. It was probably the best time I ever had going racing outside of my home territory.
Yeah, Joe knows they're good guys. I know those guys from going to a race, and they have a fun time no matter what they do. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said before, when you have a group of guys that believes in you, you can do anything. You know, and when I race with Rob Ormsby, he believes in me. Rob Ormsby believes if he goes to the dirt track with me and Billy Pouch, Stuart Freezer, anybody's there, he'll say, we can beat him. All right, yeah, absolutely. We've done it. But, you know, to have that behind you is huge. So
I mean, in your career, you look back, you've driven for the best car owners. You've driven for, you know, the Mystic Missile. You drove for Michael Bowler. You drove for Dick Barney. You've driven for Eddie Partridge. I mean, you don't just get that because these people don't believe in you, you know.
No, it's, you know, I never really sit back and look at that until sometimes you remind me. You know, you shoot me a text and you say, hey, man, I'm proud of you, and your brother be proud of you too. And I appreciate that out of you as a friend. You know, sometimes you need that, you know. But with that said, you know, it is crazy to think that you're out there driving the cars that you watched as a kid with these great drivers in it, and I feel very fortunate to have done some of the things that I've done.
It always goes back to me. One day I was working at the junkyard, and your brother wasn't too far away from me, and there's this blue Impala driving around the junkyard, and I called John. I go, "There's somebody in the junkyard driving around." And he goes, "I think that's Jimmy," and Jimmy was like 10 years old, probably even 8. And he's sitting on a milk crate in like a 1975 Chevy Impala, and we're watching him out of the other eye. We're looking for Grandpa to see if Grandpa catches him. And John goes to him, he goes, you know, one day he's going to be a better race car driver than I am. And he solely believed that at the end of his career that you were better than him. That is, you know.
It's a touchy subject for all of us, but, you know,
done well.
The last year that John raced, not many people knew, but he sat me down and he said, next year I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to concentrate on you because I feel like if we come together as one, we can win more races than just have both of us on the track at the same time. I said, well, if you got two guys out there, then you got 2 chances of winning. He said, no, if I got you out there, I got every chance to win. And it was nice for him to think of you like that. So just continue to try to make him as proud as you can, work as hard as you can, and never give up. You know, that's my thing. You know, I've been out there with the car rear hanging out of it, people seeing it, you know, thing just limping along and still putting it on them. Because when you have that drive inside of you to never ever give up.
I think one of the main accomplishments, which is cool, is that one weekend when it happened to be the Garden State Classic, and New Egypt and Bridgeport all had their 3 major races, all in the same week span, and you won all 3. You know, 3 different tracks, 3 different cars, 3 different surfaces. You know, that's pretty impressive. That goes with next.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Like the wallboard, you go on and read it, like, yeah, go back to dirt. Yeah, go back to dirt. Yeah, get off your computer, okay? Because when I come back with my dirt trophy, I might just post it online for you guys to see. But yeah, you know, we've had some great accomplishments, and couldn't have been able to do any of that without the help of great people behind you. You know, and just really, like I said, really looking forward to running this season and getting out there and mixing it up with everybody.
Do you plan on going to Myrtle Beach?
I will be at Myrtle Beach one way or another. I plan on going to Myrtle Beach, and I believe I will be there with Joe. We still have a few things to talk about, but if I'm not there with Joe, I will be there with my own car. You know, I'm ready to go racing.
Now you put that towards the dirt racing because that track is so wore out that you said the dirt racing really helped you there last year.
Yeah, it did, because you know you run out of surface. You know, when you run a dirt car and then, you know, the next night you get out of that thing and you get in an asphalt car, it's like, man, this thing's on rails. It's like a slot car. You know, even when it's wore out, it's like a slot car. So it really helped me, especially as far as my adjustments. You know, when I was there, I was thinking outside the box, and which you have to do sometimes, and definitely helped.
Who does the engines for the Bartuccios?
Roush Yates. We have Roush Yates engines. You know, the motor was great. I mean, it was everything about the whole operation was good for me. You know, everything fit me well. You know, the last 5-6 years, it's tough for me racing the car, setting the car up, working on the car, just trying to do every last thing I could possibly do myself, and a lot gets put on my plate. So when you go somewhere and you get to just, you don't have to worry about mounting the tires. The only thing you got to worry about is cleaning your windshield, your helmet. If you want to wipe the car down, go ahead. That was basically it, and giving as much input back as possible. And that was huge for me this week to be able to just go do that. There was basically no pressure on me. When you go tour racing, you got to worry about driving a hauler there. You have to worry about getting the guys hotel rooms, paying for him to get in. Okay,
feeding Timmy.
Yeah. When's this guy going to go to bed? Are you sleeping? Where we got to be at the track in the morning. Where's Hot Pockets? Where is Hot Pockets?
Is he going to be there?
He's a Muppet. But,
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you. Joe's famous for putting people in his backup cars to start and park and giving them crazy names like Goggles Paisano and stuff out there. Who's starting park for you this year?
We had Ray Fataruso out there. We had Adam LaCicero out there, Christian LaCicero, and we even had Kyle Sisko hit the surface of New Smyrna this year. But we had everybody out there. We gave everybody a chance to have a good time, take the car around the track, and just see what it was like to take a lap around New Smyrna Speedway.
What was that one purple car they had there, the older car? What was that thing?
That car has, they say, close to 100 wins on it. That
Really?
was a car that JR won NASCAR championships with, Spafco car.
Yeah.
And it was something that they kept, and they keep it every year just to go down there, start and park, and, let the guys go out there and, have a good time with.
I heard a story like that motor froze up but had water in it or something, and it was in the shop, and they just filled it back up with water, and it keeps on running.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally seized up. Joe said he was dumping transmission fluid in the thing for like a month and a half with a giant pry bar. He said it was sitting on the floor, and every time he tried to turn it over, it would try to flip the engine over. So, it was cool. Just junkyard dog stuff. Those guys, they're just, I feel like it really fit in well with them. It's a really great group.
Did Eric Brennan fall asleep on us?
No, I'm just sitting back and enjoying. I'm actually
Eric, you've been waiting to get Jimmy on for a long time. Ask him some questions.
Oh, I got so much to ask him. I'm kind of excited to hear if what comes down on the front of what will be going on with that Bertuccio route for the rest of the season. I know things aren't set in stone, but if I don't have a schedule conflict, I'll try to come down to Myrtle Beach and give you guys a hand if you need, even though you probably won't. You seem to have things pretty well on the wraps at New Smyrna.
Just come on down for some more support. We'd love to see you.
There you go. Now, Jimmy, we're watching the coverage of the 500. Looks like drivers are starting to strap into their cars. Ryan Preece kind of carrying the banner for a lot of guys like you who kind of cut their teeth on the short track circuit. Is he somebody you're kind of sentimentally cheering for today?
Oh, 100%. We talked when we were down in New Smyrna this week, for an hour or so about, where he came from and his accomplishments up till now. And the sky's the limit for a kid like him. I think where Ryan Preece is going to shine is he puts his comfort zone where you're uncomfortable as a driver. So you're going to see him at these short tracks where these other guys are uncomfortable, and he's going to have his race car in that spot. And that's why he's a better driver, because he'll go where you don't think you can go. And I try to do that a lot myself. Guys like Kyle Larson do it. You'll see him running where it's like, man, why that guy's running where nobody can even run there. And Ryan's comfort zone is whereas everybody else is uncomfortable. So he never forgot where he came from. Super proud of him as a friend to be where he's at right now. And he's humble with it. He this whole week, everybody come up to him, taking pictures with him. It's nice to see him laying in the dirt working on his modified a few days before the Daytona 500. Not many people have done that. A few days before they're getting a pedicure or out eating some sushi or some, whatever with their sponsors. And that kid's laying in the dirt. So I'm just really, really happy for him and proud for him. I hope he goes out here today and stays safe and gets himself a nice finish.
I just hope people draft with him. That they leave him at the drive.
You know what? It's going to take a little bit for that, but he's very respectful on the speedway. He always has been. So I think
I will tell you, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Ryan and Daniel Hemrick on Super Bowl Sunday this year, and what you see is what you get. They're both incredibly genuine, very humble. My fiance knows nothing about racing at all, and she said you would have no idea that they were paid professional stock car drivers by just how normal they seem to come off, how conversational they are, and how appreciative they are to where they're at. And they're both really good friends. So if they're looking for drafting partners, I think they have each other at the very least. But kind of hoping to see those two. Gary Larson texted me. I know he's there having a good time. 3 Wall Stadium winners in the field today: Truex, Hemrick, and Priest. So there'll be guys to keep an eye on for sure if you got a local favorite. There's Gary, of course, drinking a hand without me.
You won't be surprised to see drafting with Ryan Priest is Kevin Harvick. I bet you at some point today, make a friendly bet, that you will see Kevin Harvick drafting with Ryan Priest. Kevin Harvick is a management company that manages Ryan, and Ryan, he's picking the right people to do that for him. He's putting the right pieces of the puzzle in the right spot. So once you get a person like that to help guide you in the right direction as far as where you need to go in your career, it's going to help you all across the board. So don't be surprised if you see that 47 drafting with that 4 car. People say, I don't know if he's got the speed. No one got the speed. He was top of the charts in practice, Ryan. First car over 200 miles an hour. So it's cool. I'm excited to see the race get going here.
Jimmy, one other question we ask everybody, and we want to ask you because you've been at many racetracks all over the country. We always ask them, what is your favorite track food, and what track was it at?
Favorite track food? I don't know. Timmy had me eating them crazy hot dogs at Martinsville one time. I don't know. You know what I mean? I honestly, when I get to the track, even when I was a fat mess, even when I was just a giant fat mess, still winning races, just giant, just like 287 pounds of just.
You were my hero back then.
Just looking for a 20-piece nugget anywhere I could find one.
I was just gonna say chicken nuggets and ranch dressing.
I wouldn't really eat. You don't want to be out there, running around at the speeds we do and doing what you do.
How about when you were a kid before you raced?
I'd be at Johnny and Debbie O's funnel cake stand. Either hitting on the daughters or grabbing a funnel cake, one or the other.
Well, Jimmy, we're just about set to turn the audio over in-house to the race coverage. I would love to have you back on one day to talk a little bit more in depth about your career, your overall perspective of local racing as a whole, and a whole bunch more if you got some time. So if you can, stay in touch with Timmy. I'd love to talk to you a little bit further about everything you have going on, and hopefully some more topics to talk about what you're doing in 2019 in a couple weeks.
We should do the show
I definitely
from the shop.
will. I definitely will. Yeah, you guys can come over and do the show from my shop one time if you'd like it. I think that would be something cool. Not many people get to see the inside of my place and what we do there, and I think that would be something neat. But I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate what you do for local short track racing. And I just want to tell you, don't forget about the modifieds. I know you guys love these damn factory stops. Give us a little love out here, you know what I mean?
Really quick, a lot of people ask me all the time, how's Grandpa doing?
Grandpa's doing great. Grandpa's doing really well. He doesn't get around as good as he used to, but he's still moving. He's at work every day, busting his ass.
Were they showing the races on Fans Choice TV when you were down there?
Yeah, they were showing the races on Fans Choice, and Grandpa was with the whole entire family at my sister Michelle's house, and they were there cheering me on. So
how cool is that Fans Choice TV? That's like
Fans
the best
Choice
thing that's happened.
is very good, and that's another group that. You got Bobby Dillner and everybody that covered our racing down there, Fans Choice TV, NASCAR, everybody that puts us on the big stage. More and more people are getting to know the modifieds. It's a shame it took as long as it did to get us out there, but we're a stepping stone in the sport, so we need to be shown. What's below the Truck Series and ARCA Series in K&N or K&N East. Okay, that's us. So look us up, NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. You'll see some good racing.
Since you brought that up, a lot of people have asked me, why hasn't Jimmy moved up the ladder? And I always give them the simple answers. The Blewetts are modifieds, man. They've been modified since the day they started racing. They love that modified division.
I'll race anything. You know that. If I had the opportunity, I would, but I'm really not. I don't even care. If somebody said, "No, you want to run my Busch car?" Yeah, I'll go drive it. But I don't care about that. I want to be able to go out to the local barn. I want to be able to come here on a Saturday night and put a million drinks down.
With that said, you're talking about TV and the modifieds. How do you feel about the modified race at Wall Stadium being televised this year? That should be good for.
That's great. For everybody to get to see your home track on the big stage is pretty damn cool, and I thank NASCAR and the Krause family for that. I know Andrew works very hard behind the scenes. He doesn't say much to many people. He's a man of a few words, but I know he works very hard. Him and his mother and all of them there to try to make racing the best they can for us every Saturday night. And to bring a tour race there this year, not being a NASCAR sanctioned track, is big because you really don't see that much. But it shows their passion for the sport and how much it means to them. So I'm just really looking forward to it, and hopefully we got our car.
Is that a race that you circled on your calendar that you really, really want to win?
Yeah, I mean, me and John both won the other tour races that they did have there in the past. To win it would be great, especially in front of the hometown crowd. I mean, it would be great. We'd have a huge party.
I would definitely love to see the red, white, and blue number 76 out for that race,
Yeah, definitely. But, it's going to be what it's going to be. If me and Joe get the entire deal ironed out these next couple weeks, don't count us out on that modified tour. I'm going to tell you right now, because we had a lot of the good guys down there this week, and we showed we're capable of running with them. So
I was hoping for a caution there at the end of that Richie Evans race, because I didn't know if you know it, but at the end of that race, you were running the same exact times as Matt Hirschman. You just couldn't close that gap,
Well, what was cool about that is I had Ryan Flores, another local guy who made it there, who is Ryan Blaney's front tire changer here today for the Daytona 500. He was up in the spotter stand, and his job was to tell me lap times so we knew where we were at as far as the longer race. And I had Brian Kramer Hot Pockets on the radio with me, and Ryan was telling me, okay, we're a half a tenth better. We're a tenth better. We're a half tenth better. Come on, let's go. Open up that entry. See if you can beat them coming out. Okay, that lap was faster, so I knew where I was at on the racetrack and knew where I was gaining speed on Matt Hirschman. And you got to remember a few quick things about Matt Hirschman before we get going. Is his brother is Kyle Busch's spotter, so he has the best of the best surrounding him. His father was one of the best in modified racing, and so if you want to beat a guy like that, you gotta make sure you do everything he does and do it better.
All right. Well, the cars have rolled off.
Let's go.
They're pacing right now. Real quick, what have we learned today, Scott?
Don't forget about that modified, Scott.
I learned I took my headset off too soon. I learned that Jimmy's finally made it on the show, which is great. I learned Tim Mayjack's going to run for points next year, feature wins. And I learned that racing's strong right now, and I learned that we're having a great time here at River Rock.
Eric?
I've learned I have 147 features to go to catch Jimmy.
Tim, what did you learn today?
I learned between the last 2 days, between the Sunday Series banquet, which was packed, and this place is packed, so local auto racing in New Jersey is strong.
I learned that spotters got to get that lingo down. What did you learn?
What I learned?
Yeah.
I have 147 features to catch Jimmy.
Spotters got to get the lingo down. I learned that Eric Brennan liked it when they weren't on top of each other. I learned that Scott liked it when people listened to him. Tim Majack's body is hung, and I learned that Jimmy Blewett was Eric Graham's fat hero.
Besides Tony Stewart.
All right, Eric, close us out.
Well, I learned that I really wish that I was there with all you guys. First and foremost, once again, thank you, Jeff and Eric Lane, for the opportunity to allow us to have this event and for allow us a chance to be a part of it. I will tell you all, especially now that my fiance is out of the apartment, I am in the process of booking my flight to come back home Talladega weekend. Yep. I'll be at Wall Stadium that Saturday, and I'll be at River Rock that Sunday, if they will, in fact, have us back for another party for the Geico 500. Thank you to all of our guests who came out. Remember, for those of you who are taking part in today's activities, don't forget to tip your bar and wait staff and take care of all the drink and food specials that they have available at that spectacular waterfront facility. We're going to see a great race. Cars are getting set to go. And with that, on behalf of everybody at the RPM Podcast, including Bailey Riggleman, who was with us today, Tim Riggleman, Scott Riggleman, Eric Graham, Josh Matthews, along with our guests, Lee Allen, Tim Mayjack, Darren Burdge, and Jimmy Blewett, I want to wish you all a spectacular day. I'm Eric Brennan. We'll see you all next time on the RPM Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.